Yesterday at Stage 7, the fight for the overall lead in the Tour de France gained momentum as the peloton faced a 32-mile individual time trial. American favorites Levi Leipheimer, David Zabriskie, and George Hincapie delivered dismal results, and their high hopes for the day were shattered. While CSC team leader Bobby Julich took a harsh fall, and the injury has forced him to abandon the race. But one bright star remained for the Americans, as Floyd Landis fought back from an early bike change to take second place, behind former time trial world champion Sergei Gonchar of T-Mobile, who earned the stage win and walked away in yellow. Today we're back in the flats, and the sprinters will be out in full force, once again looking for a win. Stay with us as the Tour de France continues now on OLN. This is the Saab Tour pre-race show. Here in Brittany, the tides go up and down so high and so low they can leave you grounded. Perfect symbolism after what happened yesterday. No sunshine right now as we expect to show you the beauty and the ruggedness of this part of France. Right now we're under covers. It's a rainy, blustery day, and that could affect what should be a flat stage for the sprinters, but who knows, as we welcome you to our mobile studio at the finish line. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll. We said yesterday's individual time trial would shake up the race for the yellow jersey. I don't think anyone could have envisioned that it would shake it up in a way that so many people would be removed from the race for the yellow jersey right now.
Absolutely. A very tough day for the Americans. When we thought that they would dominate, that did not happen, especially American Bobby Julich, lightning striking. The second time in '99 he crashed out in the time trial. Just overbaked that corner, went way too fast in it, couldn't correct the time trial machine, and went down hard, breaking his wrist out of the Tour de France. Tough day for CSC and tragedy for Bobby Julich. Levi Leipheimer had a horrible day in the time trial, could not find his rhythm, no power in the legs. He drops from 25th to 62nd. Overall, a disastrous day. Dave Zabriskie, we expected him to do a lot better than 13th place on the stage. Everybody thought he would win or contend, at least for the top three. The only shining moment for the Americans was Floyd Landis. Even though his bars broke on his time trial bike, the Tour is all about overcoming adversity, and Floyd Landis finished second on the stage and moves up to second place on GC. Big George Hincapie, very disappointing time trial for him. We thought he would star in this Tour. He might again shine in the mountains, but in the time trial, he drops from 5th to 17th place on GC. Sergei Gonchar, the Ukrainian, becomes the first man from his country to wear the yellow jersey. He's going to trade in the pink of T-Mobile, and a great day reversing their flagging fortune from the start of this Tour.
So many storylines. Let's spell it out with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Gonchar of T-Mobile, and T-Mobile has 5 of the top 11 spots in the race for the yellow jersey. Floyd Landis did a great job to set himself up for the mountains, which are just a couple of days away. The bad, the Americans Zabriskie and Hincapie, both teams suffering. And the ugly, Levi Leipheimer losing more than 6 minutes, and Bobby Julich crashing out. We've got some amazing footage, sad really, of Bobby Julich in the hospital with Frankie Andreu. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, as the teams got on their buses last night, Bob, it's unbelievable how things changed. T-Mobile losing Jan Ullrich, their leader before the race. Now suddenly, well, they may control things. So as they got on the bus, what kinds of things were they talking about?
Well, we look for team morale to see what's going to happen in the race. The ball and chain that was Jan Ullrich is gone. He's out of the race. The other riders have their chance, and they've taken that. They've got the game ball now. They got the Tour wrapped up for the moment, and all for Cloden henceforth once we get up into the mountains. It's a great result for Gonchar, but it'll be Cloden who they're going to race for, I believe. The
Discovery on the bus.
Call Lance Collect right now. Get your cell phones out. Get Lance on the phone. Attacks begin now. You got to get more than 2 minutes back and project the deficits to come in the time trial. You got to start attacking before we get to the mountains and continue the attacks all the way through the Alps.
You have to assume that what happened yesterday in the time trial would repeat itself on the race's last day. Now the rest of the field, they've got some good and some bad to talk about.
Quick Step has had the jersey for a number of days with Tom Boonen. Decent results for them. De Wiedemann really doing great with 3 stage wins by Robbie McEwen. Crédit Agricole had a stage win and the jersey for 2 days with Tor Hushovd. The rest of the field is picking up the crumbs, and they have got to start putting in the attacks. So I think we're going to see a big stage today with a lot of long breakaways going up the road.
As for the attacks of discovery, that's got to come in the mountains. Tomorrow's a rest day. The mountains start officially on Wednesday. Now back to the hospital for Bobby Julich. Remember, he's 35 years of age. He's had success, and he knows what it's like to crash in the Tour de France. Here's what it sounded like in the hospital after he abandoned the race.
Obviously, it was a horrific crash on TV. Do you remember what happened?
No, I just, honestly, I felt like I had the best legs I've had in quite a long time yesterday when we were chasing down the break, and then today when we were doing warm-up, I felt fantastic. And I barely got off the starting ramp and didn't really get to see the first few turns at speed because we were behind the caravan, but I never even thought about it. And then came around that corner, and the next thing you know, I said, oh wow, this is a little tighter than I thought. And then all of a sudden my wheels started sliding out, and I just pile drove that bear, you know, what do you call that, the curb. And I just was in shock for I don't know how long, because I mean I really felt like this was a great opportunity for me, and I felt fantastic. And the next thing you know, I'm laying on there, and I looked down at my arm, and it looked like a scene from the Terminator when you could see all the bones, and because there was such a big open wound, I could see the bones, I could see the tendons moving, and the first thing one of the doctors said was open fracture, and then of course you kind of forget about the bike race, and then 10 minutes later, that's when I realized, wow, my Tour de France is over.
So Bobby with a horrific explanation of what he saw on that wrist, and so often we get the unfortunate answer to the question on bicycles and in race cars, how fast is too fast? So here's where we stand now in the race for the yellow jersey presented by Michelob Ultra. Sergei Gonchar of T-Mobile not expected to be a factor in the mountains, but he was a huge factor yesterday. Floyd Landis through the winds, through everything, broken bike, only a minute back, very doable for him. Michael Rogers also a player for T-Mobile, but Andreas Kloden's got a track record in this race. Keep an eye on the man who's 150 behind the yellow jersey, and remember, the man he's behind for the yellow jersey is his teammate, so they'll work within the team concept to make that happen for them. As for the Americans, well, a day to forget and move on.
George Hincapie, 17th, 2:30 behind. Decent ride by Christian Vande Velde. Levi, though, very disappointing. He's over 6 minutes behind on GC now.
We go to the map today for Stage 8, presented by AMD. Eventually, tomorrow's day off. The riders will fly south. We'll join them at the gateway to the Pyrenees, but right now a relatively flat stage, but we've got weather considerations today.
Saint-Méen-le-Grand to Lorient. It's going to be 181 kilometers. There could be some crosswinds to blow again, and there was a lot of attacks the day before yesterday when we were out in the same part of the country. Lots of sprints and King of the Mountain points.
We are in France, so we present a fashion update of who's wearing what. The polka dot jersey, well, that's been a very good French story so far, and Pignot has been picking up every point he could. Robbie McEwen just survived yesterday's time trial. He's a man to watch today. Now the pink jersey, the yellow jersey, Sergei Gonchar, and there you go, Marcus Fulton, who had a very good individual time trial yesterday, affirming his status again as the best young rider in the race. So as you look at where things stand in the sprint jersey, there you go, and those points are on the line again today. McEwen, Boonen, and Oscar Freire, who's taken a stage for Rabobank. Now it's time for Bob Guy's Guide to the Tour. What song are you singing today?
The Mellow Johnny Blues on the Tour. That's the Americorn saying for the Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey. Tom Boonen, 2 stage wins on the fly last year, the fastest man in the Tour early on, but this year with the yellow jersey, so hard to hold, he has not been able to win a stage so far. His teammates have been required to do so much work. There's no man for the last 500 meters to do the lead out. Now he can begin a brand new Tour de France, winning stages. That's his original goal, and going for the green jersey. He's in a heated battle with Robbie McEwen. They're just 10 points apart.
We'll take a little break on the Saab Tour pre-race show. When we come back, an update on who stands where in the Saab yellow jersey race, plus the Australian story. They wait for a breakthrough, much like the Americans did. This is the Tour on OLN.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
Saint-Méen-le-Grand is the start. Lorient is the finish on the coast of Brittany. Rough weather today, not like that. It's been raining and winding, and we don't know if that's going to affect the stage or not, but it really feels like it's going to. I'm sure the weather is different if you go from Tucson to Phoenix, but that's about what we're going to watch today. 112 miles. There's a lot of tour history in this part of France. We've got 4 categorized climbs today, so polka dot jersey in play, and we'll see if the sprint factors in for the green jersey as well. Trautwig, Bob Roll, Paul Sherwen, and Phil Liggett. We've had a little bit of an Australian story so far with the sprinting success of Robbie McEwen, but now, Paul, after yesterday's individual time trial, we've got a yellow jersey Australian story that the Australians would love to hear more about.
Well, I think the Australians will be very happy with the performances of their 2 stars for the overall classification. Of course, they did fairly well in the individual time trial yesterday. Cadel Evans, I thought, put in a very solid performance. He's not a great individual time trialist. He's a lot better in the mountains, but Mick Rogers is. He's a 3-time world time trial champion. He put in a solid performance yesterday to climb high up in the overall classification. And I think Mick Rogers will be carrying the hopes of Australia on his shoulders for a little while, although in the long term, I think it'll be Cadel Evans.
It was Robbie McEwen who told Australian fans early on in this tour, look, guys, it'll be great to stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning to watch what happens at the end. We'll see what happens with the rest of this tour in the other Australian yellow jersey story. Now, before we came to France, Paul, Phil, and Bob all sat down and explained what happened when the Australians finally broke through and how that sets the foundation for possible future success. On June 30th, 1981, Phil Anderson climbed onto the podium at the Tour de France to receive the yellow jersey. It was the first time an Australian had ever won the honor. But Anderson only had the jersey for 1 day. The following year, he won the first stage by an Australian rider and once again claimed the yellow jersey. This time, he held it for 10 days.
The man who opened the door for the future generations of Australian cyclists has got to be Phil Anderson.
Meeting Phil, and with Phil's success, it allowed me to dream. And dreams can go a long way.
And I had Phil Anderson's name written on my pencil case back at school. You know, it meant a lot. It meant a lot to me. He meant a lot to me.
25 years later, we're still marveling at the accomplishments of a group of riders from an island nation halfway around the world from France.
The people of Australia didn't know the brilliant bike rider Phil Anderson was. He was the very best. But nowadays, there's more than 100 Australians on international professional teams. That's how far the sport has gone.
Robbie McEwen won on the Champs-Élysées in 1999 and claimed the green jersey in 2002 and 2004, sandwiching Baden Cook's green jersey win, making 3 in a row for the Australians. But we are still searching for Australia's first overall Tour champion.
The Australians have gone one side of the sport towards the sprinting, and it seems to fit the Australian character really well. And we've had a lot of great sprinters come out of down under the Southern Hemisphere from Australia in the recent years of the Tour.
Perhaps Michael Rogers and his time trialing expertise, or Cadel Evans and his climbing prowess, will give us a new reason to celebrate the men from the land down under. You know, Phil, I look back to when the Americans broke through, and they had sort of an American team, so to speak, Motorola, 7-Eleven, and what evolved into Discovery. Why do you think there's never been an Australian team, so to speak, in the Tour?
Well, they've tried, of course. They've never had enough riders to make a great team. You need a lot of men, 9 riders for a Tour de France team. There haven't been 9 top Tour riders, but there are now that many riders around in Australia, Al. But you know, we go back to the Tour of Tasmania in 1998 it was. I looked at Phil Anderson on Mount Wellington outside of Hobart. I said, we're just watching the guy one day who's going to win the Tour de France, Phil. He says, yeah, I think you're right. And we were talking about Cadel Evans.
Well, we'll see. His name is in play as this tour moves along now. As we take a look at the standings in the Saab yellow jersey race, I don't know how I'm doing it. I just had another pick yesterday, somehow got points, and I'm in the yellow jersey for an 8th day. This has got to end sometime. But Bob Roll's behind me with 11, and a little bit of a quiet start for Mr. Liggett and Mr. Sherwen, don't you think? So I get the yellow jersey orchestra one more time.
Don't forget, you know, I am defending champion. I'm giving you all a start.
Here it is.
Right.
Sorry. Okay, my list. We begin with Paul Sherwen. Paul, you have a wide open, flat stage to choose from.
Pressure's on, mate. The pressure is on. That's why I'm going to go for the man who's had the pressure since the start of the tour. #1 in the world, Tom Boonen. For me, he is one of the greatest sprinters. He's been upset a lot by Robbie McEwen over the first week of this race, but I've got a funny feeling Big Tom now, I think as Bob said just a little bit earlier, will be without all the pressure of having to defend the yellow jersey. He's going to start sprinting again.
Phil, you're next.
Well, as Paul's taken Tom Boonen, not that I would have taken Tom Boonen today because it's too windy, it's wet, it's quite miserable. So I'll go for my old mate Robbie. He's won 3 stages. That's as many as he's ever won in 8 Tour de France. He did it last year. Now he will go for 4 wins, and that will be an Australian record.
Bob, go ahead.
I'm going to go with the only sprinter left in the field, Thor Hushovd. The mountains are looming. The sprinters teams have one last chance to get it right, and Thor Hushovd, he hasn't come up with the goods in a sprint yet. He had the yellow jersey. He won the prologue, and he's going to add on a wet and nasty, perfect day for a Norwegian. Another stage win to his pal Maurice.
I don't know why I'm thinking that with the weather. Maybe there's not going to...
Go for Valverde. Valverde's good for you.
Good pick, Paul.
Yeah,
good pick. Thank you very much.
Bettini.
They're always trying to take advantage of me. I'm going for a guy who has shown he wants to be in the breakaway since all the good sprinters are gone, maybe be in a breakaway and find a way to win the stage. Jens Voigt from Team CSC. This is a team that is absolutely desperate to gain some... What?
He's had a terrible week. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's not riding very well. But you have him.
Wasn't he in a breakaway earlier in this race?
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
but he's
a
tired
week ago.
He finished a long way down in the time trial.
Oh, he's a long way down.
This is not a time trial today. It's always difficult. We'll take a break. When we come back, Phil and Paul to the booth. It's time for stage 8. Windy, rainy, who's it going to be? Rabobank's won a stage. Yes, they have. Can they do it again, or is it going to be Tom Boonen without the weight of the yellow jersey? And what about the end? Green jersey on the line? We'll see.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
The German word for safe is sicher. The Portuguese word for firewall is muro de fogo. The Chinese word for password is mima. My company's in 17 countries now, and I can say secure in every one of them.
Dynamic networking from AT&T identifies security threats before they're problems, so Jane's confidence grows right alongside her company. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
School's out. Do you know where your daughter is? It was bad enough when tag was only in bathrooms and lockers, but new concealable body shots can be taken anywhere. And the ability to utilize a number of scents makes all of our daughters, sisters, and even charity car wash girls vulnerable. Tell your daughter, keep your eyes open and your nostrils shut. Because new tag body shots can be deployed wherever, whenever. Consider yourself warned.
Subway Dinner Theatre presents The Unfed. I smell a blockbuster! And for dinner, Subway restaurants!
Try our delicious turkey breast with honey mustard and cucumber sandwich. Savory turkey, crisp veggies, and sweet honey mustard sauce.
Subway! Eat fresh!
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
At Geico.com, you can handle all your car insurance needs online. It's so easy, a caveman could do it.
Seriously, we apologize. We had no idea you guys were still around.
Yeah, next time maybe do a little research.
Gentlemen, are we ready to order?
I'll have the roast duck with the mango salsa. I don't have much of an appetite, thank you.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Yesterday in the Tour de France, the test of time took its toll on many of the top contenders. T-Mobile's Sergei Gonchar showed why he's been the World Time Trial champion. He produced a dominating ride to put himself in the yellow jersey as race leader. The American Floyd Landis, despite having a bike change, managed a solid ride and trails only Gonchar. He sits second in the race. Today, the contenders take another back seat as the sprinters again come out to play just one more time in their pursuit for the green jersey. We head now to the hills of Brittany, where Belgian Tom Bonen hopes to find his first stage win, while his nemesis, the Aussie Robbie McEwen, he's out to set a personal best of 4 stage wins in a Tour de France. It's anyone's race, of course, next on OLN. Yes, it's taken 9 days to bring the Tour de France from its start in Strasbourg right across the northern sector of Europe. We've now found the Atlantic Ocean. This is Lorient, and Brittany will see the race all day today. Tomorrow the riders fly south, the mountains await. There's our little home for the day again. Welcome back, everybody, on OLN, these live pictures. I'm Phil Liggett, joined, of course, by Paul Sherwen. Now, yesterday was the time trial. We were talking about it, deciding a lot of things. I'll tell you what, it decided absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. We don't know who's going to win the Tour de France. Some riders will be very happy with their performances yesterday, and 1 or 2, I think, will be somewhat disappointed. But for the overall contenders, Phil, there's hardly any difference at all.
Well, let's have a look how it all panned out for some. Floyd Landis, I think, did the best, really, because he sits second now, a minute off the race leader, Sergei Gonchar. Looking further down the list, Cadel Evans of Australia did well. He lies 8th. Menchov of Russia is 9th. The Discovery boys still looking for who is going to lead that team. Savadelli, Hincapie, Popovic, nothing between them. And Levi Leipheimer there, well, 6 minutes 17 seconds off the race lead. Levi is going to have to find some special legs now when we get down into those mountains. But today, the yellow jersey should stay with the man who won it yesterday, Sergei Gonchar. We'll concentrate once more on the green jersey competition for the sprinters, Paul. There are 2 very special guys who sprint so well.
2 gladiators, men of the road warriors. The men I'd like to talk about, Tom Bonen and, of course, Robbie McEwen. Last year in the Tour de France, Tom Bonen was almost unbeatable. He was very rapid indeed. He was only in the Tour for 11 stages, went out because of injury, but before he left the Tour de France, he took himself 2 stage wins. So far in this year's Tour de France, though, he doesn't have any.
And that's because Robbie McEwen has found some really fast legs. He's won stages 2, 4 and 6. Need I remind you, today is stage number 8. Funnily enough, last month in the Tour of Italy, he also won stages 2, 4 and 6. So he's got the green jersey for the most consistent daily finisher. And his points margin, though, because of the consistency of Bonen, is not that great. Let's have a look at the point standing. Just a 10-point gap, McEwen over Bonen. Then comes the former world champion Frère. Bernati is 4th, sprinting very consistently. Thor Hushovd, who won this competition last year, he sits there now in 5th place in 103rd. This is what's up for grabs today.
This is a tough competition because you have to battle every day on the open roads. There's 3 intermediate sprints today at Plessala, Locmalo and Plouay, and there you can get yourself 6, 4 and 2 points. But on the finish, that's where the big glory is. First place will bring you 35 points, 5th place will bring you 22 points, and then from 6th down to 25 it descends from 20 to 1. A lot of points at stake today.
Indeed, there are. Thanks, Paul. Let's take our little journey back to the start this morning when we started stage 8 in Saint-Méen-le-Grand. 170 riders, everybody except poor old Bobby Julich starting today in the field. There's the leaders' jerseys in the polka dot, Jean Pinot, of course. And this was the first sprint, a small breakaway already on, and it was Samuel Dumoulin, smallest man in the race, taking out the points in the Plessala from Garcia Acosta and Jens Voigt popping up into the action. On to climb number 1 after 75 kilometres. A new breakaway now, and this breakaway is still in progress. And Sylvain Calzati gets his first points of the day over Mario Ertz and Algan, Patrice Algan, the last one to catch up there with the breakaways. Back onto the next climb, which in fact was only 3 kilometres later. Same riders at the front. Calzati getting the points, this time from the Finnish rider Karlström and David Zabriskie, who is in the breakaway, beginning to look a little bit like a frisky Zabriskie. So there were 3 climbs in quick succession. The next one is a 4th category climb. Calzati again getting all of his first points in the King of the Mountains today. Zabriskie in 2nd place and Mario Ertz in 3rd place. That's the story so far. I'll give you the breakaway in its entirety. David Zabriskie, Matthias Kessler, Sylvain Calzati, Mario Ertz, Patrice Algan and Kjell Karlström. Paul, when we get pictures of the main field, we're going to see not the pink jerseys of T-Mobile chasing, but there we are. The riders from Phonak, Floyd Landis' team, are chasing.
Well, what that tells me is Floyd Landis is not happy with the composition of the breakaway. Probably not so worried about the position of Dave Zabriskie, but definitely worried about Matthias Kessler, because Kessler is 11th overall and he's a very good climber. This indicates now that Floyd Landis is conducting himself like a future winner of the Tour de France. He's assumed control. He knows the sprinters aren't going to chase down because Davide Monlotto have got Mario Ertz in that breakaway, so they're quite happy. They've got a player up there. Not up to them to rely on Robbie McEwen for the win this afternoon. It's going to be a long, hard chase. They pulled it to 7 minutes 20 seconds. They've now reduced it to 5:42.
Well, at the moment we've covered 100 kilometres. We've got just on 81 kilometres to go. That's around about 50 miles to the finish. We've had some quite nasty little rainstorms here at the finishing line. They've had them down the course as well, but at the moment the tide must be going out at the Atlantic, I think, because the weather is brightening up a bit and the riders are drying up, which is good news. There are plenty of people who love cycling in Brittany. You'll see a lot of those black and white striped flags. They are the flags of the Brittany region, and this is a hotbed of cycling. We're going, for example, our last sprint of the day, Paul, is in Plouay. The World Championships have been there, and the Grand Prix Plouay is one of the best races in France.
And one of the oldest races in France. It's been organised since the 1930s. 176 riders started the Tour. We're now down to 170 with that dramatic crash of Bobby Julich last night. Just 12 teams left intact out of 20 that started. But what is also important to remember is that Bobby Julich is, in fact, recovering after an operation last night to put a little piece of bone back into his wrist. Nasty crash for Bobby, and rather sad and coincidental that he went out on stage 8 of the Tour de France in a crash in the individual time trial back in 1999.
Yes, a deja vu, and not the one you want to really talk about. Stage 8 today now, and the riders heading to the coast. Long flight for the riders tonight, and of course for the drivers, 500 miles by car, probably all day tomorrow. That's what we'll be doing. As the riders continue, the gap is now 5 minutes and 37. Chance to see blue skies at last now, Paul, as we start to see the breakaway here. Riding in the AG2R, Sylvain Calzati hasn't won a lot of races, but boy, this man has been sprinting well up the hills today.
He's been looking for points in the King of the Mountains classification, but this is a very technical, tactical breakaway. You can see the position there. Dave Zabriskie's in there, and of course the most dangerous man, I'd have to say, is Matthias Kessler.
Yes, I must say Kessler is a big danger here, because he's shown us now to be quite a strong boy, winning that power stage on the climb of the Kauberg in Valkenburg. And that's why they're chasing him down, but I suspect this will still be a day in which the green jersey will be the main focal point of the big sprinters, Robbie McEwen and Tom Bonan. There's still quite a way to go, and the lead is coming down. We'll take our first break. Come back and join us.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by the Trek Tour Mania Scratch and Win Sweepstakes. Play every day of the tour at your local Trek dealer and at trekbikes.com. And by Star Motorcycles. We build it, you make it your own.
Ingeniously designed to help protect the things that need protecting. Energy-absorbing ACE body structure, standard on the all-new Civic. Only from Honda.
I've kind of got this problem. I can't sleep, cold sweats, rash. I think I've got this Tour Mania thing.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win Sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at trekbikes.com.
Oh, what a relief. Hey, what have you got for this?
Ah.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. The rewarding taste of Michelob Ultra. Perfectly balanced and made for today. Live life to the ultra.
George Hincapie spent 7 years protecting, 7 years taking the wind, 7 years helping Lance win 7, 7 years preparing for year 8. Tour de France continues Tuesday, live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
Welcome back, day 9 of the Tour de France today, live with us here on OLN as the peloton, a little bit under the escort of Floyd Landis's Phonak squad today, while the boys in pink, they've got the race leader on their shoulders, are just taking it easy. They've put a man in the breakaway. There are 6 riders away, and that represents 6 teams out front, and Phonak didn't put a man in that breakaway, so now it's up to them to try and keep it a reasonable distance away. 5:21, remember today was that individual time trial. It was probably one of the most strangest time trials I ever commentated on, and the man who confused us all was Levi Leipheimer. Well, Frankie Andreu was with him this morning at the start.
Levi, obviously yesterday was disappointing for you. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, yeah, obviously it was not my level, and you know, I don't really want to make excuses, but sometimes things don't go your way, and you know, I haven't been feeling very good, and but it's something that I'm hoping to get over, and I'm looking forward to the mountains, and I think hopefully I'll feel better and have the chance to attack. Well, obviously yesterday was a big blow, and I'll have to rethink my strategy, but like I said before, I'm focused on recovering and feeling better, and like I said, that's not easy to do, but I'm going to try.
Well, let's hope he can make himself a target again and get back into the thick of the action, because less than a week ago he was saying, I can win this Tour de France. It's going to be a difficult job for him now, but this is a very different Tour de France to what we normally see. There's every chance Levi Leipheimer can climb himself back into this race. Well, looking at the long straight roads of Brittany, and blue sky abounds now. Well, thank heavens the tide must have turned, Paul, and the heavy rain has left us now. The riders racing towards Lorient in warm sunshine. Amongst the surprises, I suppose, yesterday, though, Paul, was young Marcus Fotum. We never expected him to do the ride like that. The white jersey holder again.
Well, he's got a very good pedigree as an individual time trialist. He was under 23 world champion, and he was riding to try and get himself the lead back in that white jersey competition. He said he was exceptionally surprised and pleased to be picked for the Tour de France for the first time. His idol since he's been a kid was Jan Ullrich, although he's never actually managed to speak to him. But the man who's been the biggest help to him since he turned professional, in fact, is the ever popular old man of German cycling, Eric Zabel.
Yes, well, Eric is a great guiding light, and what an example he is. 36 years of age now. The last couple of days he celebrates his birthday on the Tour. This is the peloton, and this is the breakaway. The rider on the right here, Mario Ertz, is one of the oldest riders in the race. He's 32, approaching 32 now, and he hasn't won a race, in fact, since the Flèche Wallonne, which is a small Belgian classic. We raced over some of those roads, in fact, a couple of days ago, and that's way back in April 2002. But he's such a strong rider that he's very welcome on the team, of course. And he's doing his fair share here now, and he keeps himself nicely in the breakaway, because McEwen, Race of a Green, of course, Cadel Evans on that team, hoping to win the Tour itself. Well, the Tour de France goes on every day, even on rest days, by the way, as it is tomorrow. Well, tonight, OLN has enhanced coverage of the Tour de France. Bob Roll brings his guide to the Tour, as usual. We'll sit down with Floyd Lance's coach, Robbie Ventura. Remember, he lies second in the race. And the primetime show begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific. The enhanced coverage of the Tour de France. Daily coverage of the Tour, only on OLN. And here come the boys on Phonak. The last time we'll see these jerseys in this particular design in the Tour de France, the sponsorship will change next year. The green and the yellow jersey, the green being worn today by Robin McEwen, the yellow by the Ukrainian rider Sergei Khonchar. Khonchar, by the way, it's the first ever Ukrainian to wear yellow in the Tour de France, and they've got a lead over the break rather has a lead over the field of 5 minutes and 22 seconds. We are about 73 kilometers from the end. These beautiful long roads of Brittany. Snatch your bags and run for it. There's still a long way to go. Plenty of time to bring the boys back and entertain us for another sprint finish. See you in a moment.
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. A unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team. And leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
Next Sunday, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the 5-time WTT champs Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis presented by Advanta. Next Sunday at 11:30, only on OLN.
The aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
One part of this concept car is already on the road. Michelin MX tires. Chosen by more luxury car makers to enhance the performance of their cars. Michelin, a better way forward.
After battling the elements for 128 years, our wood stains can handle pretty much anything. Cabot, our performance is legendary.
What can be better than watching all the incredible goals, great stars, and excitement of an MLS match? Watching well over 100 MLS matches this season. The only way to do that is by signing up now for MLS Direct Kick. For only $69, you can catch all the live action and drama the entire MLS season has to offer. Show your passion for the sport you love.
Maybe it's time to upgrade. Upgrade to Comcast digital cable with HBO and Stars for $49.99 a month for 3 months. More channels, more movies, more music. Just call 1-800-COMCAST today. Comcast digital cable. It's Comcastic.
Yes, happy days yesterday for Serhai Honchar because he was the winner of the time trial stage in emphatic fashion. He's pulled on at the race leaders at yellow jersey today. He leads by a complete minute over Floyd Landis of the Phonak team, and that, believe me, is not a winning margin. I think Honchar will be in all sorts of bother when we get down to the mountains, and I think that's why today the Phonak team are showing T-Mobile, which is the squad of Honchar, that they're not afraid to take them on in a head-to-head, because they've been doing all of the work at the front of the group today, and they're protecting Floyd Landis at the same time as we race across this beautiful department of Brittany. 5:13 is more or less what the riders are now. Well, at one stage they were up to 7 minutes 20, so steadily but surely. And I don't actually think, and you said it, Paul, that Phonak are actually trying to catch them. They're just not letting them escape.
They have to make sure that this breakaway doesn't get to ridiculous margins of 10 or 15 minutes, because that would be very dangerous, especially having a rider, of course, like Mario Ertz, because, as you said, he's not one of the great winners, but he's a very good climber. When you win a race like Flèche Wallonne, you can get over the climbs. We're coming up to the next sprint point of the day, and this is at Lochmald. I don't think they'll fight it out for this because it's not heavily important, although, having said that, Zabriskie and Kessler are fairly close together in the overall standings.
They're absolutely locked on time. They're giving advantage Zabriskie in 10th place, Kessler in 11th, but the same time gap, 2 minutes 3 seconds, so the position is different on count back of placings on daily stages. That's Zabriskie pumping out on the front. I think you're absolutely right. There'll be no sprint here. Remember, all week we've been commentating on these sprints for the valuable 6 points for the green jersey, 6 seconds time bonus. In fact, on day 2 of the Tour de France, a 2-second sprint gave George Hincapie the yellow jersey for a day. Well, now after the time trial, we're talking in minutes, so that the seconds are no longer important. So nobody's challenged Zabriskie, and in second place Calzati, and as I wasn't looking, I've missed the third place.
Well, I think it was Mario Ertz.
I think it was, yes, Mario Ertz.
But that's actually quite important for Zabriskie. If this breakaway were to succeed, he just got himself a 6-second time bonus. At the start of the day, he was locked in 10th place, Kessler 11th, but they were all both in exactly the same time, and I'm surprised Kessler didn't come forward there and have a go at trying to get that time bonus, because there's also the possibility this breakaway might succeed with 1 or 2 minutes advantage, because De Vitamon Lotto are not going to chase, Crédit Agricole are not going to chase because they've got Patrice Algon in this breakaway. So it's going to leave all of the work down towards the end, basically up to the teammates of Tom Boonen if they want to pull this race back into the fold.
That's right, because Lotto aren't going to try and damage the possibility of a win for Mario Ertz on De Vitamon Lotto. And so Tom Boonen, with no man in that breakaway, could find he's put himself under pressure today. 5:04, still coming down nicely. Remember, it was 7:20. So as we look through this beautiful part of Brittany here, we're racing across, remember, from the capital of Brittany area today to Lorient, right on the coast. All right, well, let's get back onto our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. And don't forget, go on to olntv.com/fly to the finish. And watch out for the code word. This is what you'll need today. It is Leipheimer. That's our code word in the Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes today. Well, this has been a very quick race today. 45 kilometres covered in the first hour. Let me see, 28 miles an hour, quick conversion. That's very good cycling at this stage of the Tour de France in 1 hour. They've kept the average going. They're running slightly ahead of schedule. This is Robbie Hunter. We were talking about him earlier, now sitting on the front. He's going very, very quickly. And as we look at the breakaway, the main field here rather, it's all Fomac doing all of the work here. Just got a sneaking feeling they're not interested in catching that group. It's up to the sprinters if they want a battle, and Tom Bonan particularly if he wants to win a stage of this year's Tour de France. These are the faces of Fonac. They're here for one reason. Floyd Landis. There's Dave Zabriskie. He's out in front chasing a breakaway of 6.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong
for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Subway Dinner Theater presents My Hero, the compelling story of how the tasty new bourbon chicken sandwich, hot and fresh from the oven, swept an entire nation off its feet. Subway, eat fresh!
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
The full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
This summer, get the sunblock that also blocks the bite. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast Sunblock and Repellent. Up to 8-hour protection against harmful rays and pesky bites without the odor. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast. Block the burn and the bite.
Who is Floyd Landis? He's cycling's tough guy. So tough, in 2003 he broke his hip and still helped Lance get wins 5 and 6. Now the Pennsylvania native has his own team. And when his role as leader was questioned, Floyd had 3 responses. The cyclist, the men who would be king. Tour de France continues Tuesday, live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, only on OLN.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
The sky is perfect blue, no cloud could spoil the view. From above, that shows that we're in love.
Welcome back to the road of the Tour de France. We're coursing across Brittany. Here come all the boys on Fonac, and at the back, and there he is, Floyd Landis, lying second overall in the Tour de France, 1 minute behind the race leader. If you want my opinion, that's the best place to be. Let somebody else have all the concerns about leading in yellow, and you plot your own strategy in the 2 weeks that lie ahead. Floyd Landis so far has had a great ride, despite on both time trials accompanying himself with a little bit of problems mechanically. He's overcome them. There's the team of the Fonac squad. Grabs, Robbie Hunter, Axel Merckx, Perdiguero. These are riders who are going to look after him. Pena to the far right, that of course he used to be on the team of Lance Armstrong. Remember the day he celebrated his birthday wearing a yellow jersey for what was then the US Postal Service team. Well, speaking of Lance Armstrong, how can we have a Tour de France without talking about the great man? Let's go to our Lance On series now. brought to us by Nike 10-2.
Cycling made the story a story. But more than anything, the illness made it a story. I mean, without the illness, if I'd just come along and been a healthy, normal young guy and won 7 tours, it would have been covered in sports pages. It wouldn't have reached the masses that it did because of the illness. I mean, I've gained a lot, quite frankly, because of the illness. And it made it a story. It made my life different. The illness changed me as an athlete, so I owe it to the illness and to the survivors and to the family members and the people that care to make a difference. And it's the only thing I can do that makes the Tour de France look small, which is a cool thing. I mean, it's a hard task, uphill battle, so to speak. But if we pull it off, if we start to make incremental change, which turns into monumental change, man, who cares about the Tour de France then? Nobody.
Yes, today's Lance On brought to you by the Nike 10-2 collection, inspired by the man himself. Learn more about Lance and 10-2 at weareyellow.com. And there's some interesting information for you. The Lance Armstrong Foundation, founded after Lance contracted cancer. Since then, more than $29 million to support cancer survivorship programs, awarded more than $14 million in research and community grants, and 60 million of those yellow Livestrong bracelets have been sold. That's incredible. Back with the main field of the Tour de France, and a chance to get a close-up here of Sergei Honchar, who is the leader of the Tour, the first Ukrainian to wear yellow after his victory yesterday. So, as we look at the men that France is hoping will score the goals that count in the World Cup final tonight, the yellow jersey there of T-Mobile and the T-Mobile squad itself moving in right up behind Floyd Landis's Phonak squad.
Keeping a very close eye on it, and I wonder if they'll be keeping a close eye tonight on Zinedine Zidane when he tries to score the winning goal for France. They love him here. He's probably going to retire at the end of the game, and he's one of the team that won the World Cup for France back in 1998.
Well, he, I suspect, is the Eddie Merckx of football. As we look here at Mario Ertz. Mario Ertz himself turned pro back in 1996, so he's had 11 years at professional level. During which time he's won only 4 races, but a valued teammate. Having lunch is Patrice Algon. He was down in Australia to start his season in January at the Jacobs Creek Tour Down Under 6-day stage race. And just before the race started, the day before, he was involved in an accident, broke his collarbone rather badly, and so he was only able to watch the race. It took him a little while to get back into it, but again, like so often happens, if you have an early crash in the ear, you have an enforced layoff, you come back strong. He actually caught these boys on his own. There was 5 of them started to move. He caught them, and he's added the power now. 4 minutes 57 seconds, the latest gap, with just 62 miles to go. I beg your pardon, 62 kilometers to go to the finish, as the riders now are still being escorted here by Phonak. This is an interesting strategy today. Phonak and not the T-Mobile boys are taking up the responsibility of race control. They're not interested in catching the breakaway. There's nobody there they feel is that important apart from Kessler. And so I'm not so sure. If the sprinters don't take control of this race at the back here, then there won't be a sprint finish today.
No, they won't. They've really got to pull it back.
So there's the pack and the long thin line. There's 9 riders on the Phonak team. The disadvantage for T-Mobile, losing Oscar Sevilla and of course Jan Ullrich. They started with only 7 men. So that will put a lot of pressure on them if they're hoping to defend the lead of Sergei Honchar. So far, things going their way today. Phonak are doing the work. They'll still be there on the front when we get back. See you in a moment.
Real shooters, real rules, real cash. The world's greatest players, Hall of Famers and hustlers battle it out for the richest payday in the history of the sport. Over $1 million in prize money. But to rack up that kind of cash, they better bring their 8 game.
Come on, you country redneck.
It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-ball shootout 2-hour season finale. Tonight at 6 Eastern, only on OLN.
It's showtime.
Bedhead. Proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the ultra.
Wish shaving didn't take so long? Well, now it doesn't have to. Introducing the Beard Reaper 8000.
Oh my, looks sharp.
It is razor sharp.
Oh my.
There are smarter ways to save time. Sign up for Comcast high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. At ridiculously quick speeds, it's way faster than DSL and dial-up. Sign up today and get professional installation. Just call 1-800-COMCAST. Comcast high-speed internet. It's Comcastic.
Saturday, July 15th on Oxygen. Monique is back with the biggest beauty revolution ever. If you want to live large, enter Monique's Fat Chance Sweepstakes.
Log on to oxygen.com for your chance and win big.
The lucky grand prize winner and a guest will fly to L.A., experience a one-of-a-kind beauty boot camp, and have dinner with Monique.
Watch Monique's Fat Chance on Comcast.
Call today to get the $49.99 a month for 3 months.
Come back to the Tour de France. It is mid-afternoon here. The cloud is still out across the Atlantic as we head towards Lorient today. For those of you just getting up on the West Coast, you missed an hour of racing. I can tell you the American Dave Zabriskie, though, is in a breakaway of 6 riders and leading at the moment by around about 5 minutes. The peloton being led by the team of Floyd Landis, who now lies second overall in this year's Tour de France after yesterday's time trial. Latest time check is 4 minutes 52, and we've just seen the faces there of 2 of France's top footballers, and they'll be playing tonight in the World Soccer Final over in Germany. And the organisation have even arranged for the chartered aircraft to carry the riders down to the transfer point at Bordeaux tonight to land in time for the Cup Final. Can you believe that? 36.2 miles left now. These are the riders. This is Alexander Moose here. Murenhout, I'm sorry, that's Murenhout who's there. There's having a chat with Floyd Landis, just keeping an eye on things and keeping his team not overworking them. They're going to be required over the next 2 weeks to really work for Floyd Landis, but just tapping through, as they say, keeping these 6 riders within their sights. 4 minutes and 53 seconds. They're coming down, Paul, so despite there's no apparent chase, they're nibbling the seconds off nicely. As these 6 riders, quickly give you the names again: Dave Zabriskie, Matthias Kessler, Sylvain Calzati, Mario Hertz, Gel Carlson, the man who caught up with them, Patrice Olgon. They are the 6 riders up front. Kessler will be starting to think here he's got a chance of another stage win.
He'll be thinking very seriously about the chance of a stage win, but as he is the man who is thinking about protecting T-Mobile's position. In fact, it's this man we're looking at here, Dave Zabriskie, who is currently on the road, the yellow jersey of the race, because he took that 6-second time bonus a few moments ago, which just puts him 6 seconds ahead of Matthias Kessler. But, you know, this stage into Lorient in the past has actually shined for T-Mobile. In those days, it was called Team Telecom. And in 1998, the winner of the stage was a man by the name of Hepner.
Jens Hepner, not far away from our commentary position here, because he now works for German television. Jens Hepner retiring as a full-time pro last year, in fact, and now enjoying, although he's still very fit, like a lot of our commentators who have left the sport. They've got the bikes with them, and they do go cycling before they get to the commentary position. Old habits die hard, you know, as we look at the Église, or the Church of Notre Dame. These are lovely, lovely villages here in Brittany, and this is a hotbed of cycling. The Breton Frenchies, and quite like the rest of France, they feel they are special people up here. The hospitality, I think, is second to none. As we're watching the peloton race through here now. Now there are big happenings coming to OLN. Let me tell you about them, because this September, major changes, and we change our name to Versus. We'll bring you exclusive events, the ones you can't see anywhere else around America, like the Tour de France, the America's Cup. There'll be in-depth coverage of the Davis Cup in tennis, boxing, the PBR, and it's the only place to find weekly national coverage of the NHL. This is the network for athletes, for sportsmen, for fans, and anyone who's up for a challenge. This September, OLN becomes Versus. Looking down here over the shoulder of Matthias Kessler, one-stage win, a great time trial yesterday, sitting at the moment in 11th place in this year's Tour de France, knowing that he probably packs the best finish if this group can get down to the line in Lorient. We approach Lorient today on a very, very wide freeway. Then we just slide off a ramp and into the town. It's a slightly downhill finish. It should be a very fast arrival indeed. Just on 35 miles left to go, 4 3/4 minutes, despite all of the apparent effort by the breakaway. And certainly no apathy back there. As we see, this is what they call a water carrier here, and you can see why. Noval is the water carrier for Team Discovery. He's got a bottle for everyone of the 9 riders, I would say, stuffed down his jersey there. The hard job is to go and find the riders to give out those bottles to. When you think that each bottle probably weighs at least 1 or 2 pounds, he's carrying quite a lot of extra weight down there. Well, a little bit of intrusion. One rider breaking into Phonak, Française de Jeux. Time for us to take another break, and the Battle of the Sprinters not far away.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
The German word for safe is sicher. The Portuguese word for firewall is muro de fogo. The Chinese word for password is mima. My company's in 17 countries now, and I can say secure in every one of them.
Dynamic networking from AT&T identifies security threats before they're problems, so Jane's confidence grows right alongside her company. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Yeah, no, I gotta go. Yeah, I'm getting on.
I totally spaced on that one.
That was bad.
Let's just use your Capital One no hassle card.
Protect yourself with Capital One's low rates and great rewards.
I am so good.
What's in your wallet? I've kind of got this problem. I can't sleep, cold sweats, rash. I think I've got this Tour Mania thing.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Oh, what a relief. Hey, what have you got for this?
Ah.
Welcome back as we look now at the riders here who are beginning to try and get the pace warmed up just a little bit at the back of the race. Française des Jeux for Bernard Eisel, one of the sprinters, has now come to the front to give a little bit of a helping hand to Floyd Landis's Phonak team. Everybody in the peloton except 6 riders who had a lead of over 7 minutes. Now it's down to 4 minutes and 39. The man in yellow is Serhij Hončar, who got the lead yesterday after a magical time trial of the type you really can only dream about. Let's have a look. It's our AT&T yellow jersey moment. It all happened yesterday, pounding the big gears. This very strong man from Ukraine. He's been well known in the Tour of Italy before, not quite so well known in the Tour de France. He shocked everybody. It wasn't a narrow win, it was a great win. He became the first Ukrainian cyclist ever to lead the Tour de France. That's our AT&T yellow jersey moment. And we can look a little bit more. He's 36 now, so he's got the yellow jersey in the nick of time, I would think. Stands at 5'10", fairly light, which means he should climb quite well when we get down to the mountains. Been a professional since 1996, so 11 seasons as a pro. That's a long time. And there's a couple of places in the Giro d'Italia. He's had a 2nd and a 6th. He's also finished 4th and 5th from memory as well. Well, there's the peloton. We continue to reel in those 6 riders. Is it quick enough? 4 minutes, 29 seconds. It would be an interesting sprint from those 6 riders up front if they did stay away for the run-in to Lorient today. 52 kilometres, well, 55 kilometres here left to ride up for the peloton. The leader's a bit further down the road.
Well, Phil, some very strange performances yesterday. I think probably the strangest has to be Levi Leipheimer. His team manager this morning, Hans-Michael Holzer, was saying that he talked to Levi last night at great length, and Levi just could not explain what had happened to him. He just did not have a great day. So Holzer is saying that he hopes that it was just one of those off days that anybody can have in the Tour de France. But if you have it on a crucial day like the individual time trial, it can be exceptionally costly. But he doesn't believe that Levi is out of the hunt for a podium position, because if you look at the results over previous years, for example, Santiago Botero won the time trial here in Lorient back in 2000. And in fact, he went on to finish in the top 10 in the Tour. So the gaps will open. And if Levi had just one bad day yesterday, he's still got a chance of a top 3 finish.
Well, he'll need a confidence booster now, because he was very disappointed. To his credit, he's made no excuses. You get bad days, and you know, riders are very afraid of those bad days because they're all human, believe it or not, and they do get bad days. And so they want to get that bad day out of the way so they can recover later. Maybe that was the bad day of Levi, and he will start to go well over the next few. Well, let's hope so anyway. 4 minutes 27 seconds here as the riders are just about holding steady here. We're only 31 miles from the finish now, so we're beginning to get down to the... It's about now, I think, when the chase should start. Don't forget, we're all flying to Bordeaux tonight. It's a rest day for the riders, not for the workers on OLN, though. We have a Tour de France coverage day for you, as usual, and we'll bring you highlights of the prologue right through to stage number 8 on our special rest day program. You can bring yourselves right up to date. Watch it tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific Time. And stage 9 continues live Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. That'll be one to watch down in the far west of France. Follow the journey of the men, who will be king through July 23rd. And there is a very typical Breton road, this dead straight, just the odd elbow in it, as the riders continue on the undulations, as they will continue now towards the coast. Right over there in the distance is the Atlantic Ocean. We're heading generally now in a southwesterly position rather than due west as we race down to Lorient. Scene of many great Tour de France winners. The finest cyclist to come out of this region was the great Louison Bobet. He won the Tour de France 3 times in a row in the mid-50s. And I must say, yesterday, Paul and I had the privilege of riding in the race director's car of the Tour de France of 1954. And I can tell you, it still runs like a dream. It's here in the museum in Brittany. So the Tour de France presses on as we do. We'll see you in a moment.
Subway Dinner Theater presents My Hero, the compelling story of how the tasty new bourbon chicken sandwich, hot and fresh from the oven, swept an entire nation off its feet. Subway, eat fresh!
It's coming. 5 new vehicles. All have our best ideas within them. All are engineered for people who love the road. It's coming. The next generation of Nissan thinking for the next generation of Nissan drivers. Get ready. Shift 2.0 is coming.
Somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8. See you along the way.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
When you think bikes and accessories, think Turin Bicycles Limited. Check out Turin's large selection of mountain and road bikes. Bikes for the entire family. Turin has you covered from head to toe. Turin carries a great selection of biking apparel, including shorts, jerseys, hats, and shoes too. Plus helmets and safety equipment, trip computers, water bottles, car racks, and more. Turin Bicycles Expert Service Department is ready to repair any problem you might have. Turin Bicycles, 700 Lincoln on the northeast corner of Spear and Lincoln. Open 7 days a week and online at turinbikes.com.
What would you do with $200,000 extra dollars? Well, the facts are that a high school graduate can earn over $200,000 more in their lifetime than a non-grad. At PCDI, you can earn your high school diploma in as little as 6 months or get your career diploma, and you train at home at your own pace for some of America's best paying professions. Call now for your free career kit.
For your free career kit, call 1-800-983-4442. That's 1-800-983-4442.
Welcome back. This is the main field in the Tour de France, and yes, Bernard Eisel, the sprinter on those white jerseyed riders, has asked for a couple of them to go up and assist Floyd Landis' Phonak team on the attack. It's had to come now. Inside 50 kilometers to go. This is getting a little bit serious for the sprinters. 4 minutes 11 seconds now, Paul. There's a number of Française de Jeu riders got through.
Well, yes, I think they must believe that Bernard Eisel has got a very good chance of winning this afternoon. Let's not forget, it's almost a regional team, FDJ, because Marc Madiot comes from the Mayenne region, which is a region that we went through just the day before yesterday, and he will not be happy of seeing a breakaway like this that might succeed, and that could be the reason behind his tactics of getting the team organized on the front.
And the other rider from the Mayenne area is in the breakaway, and he made a big effort to reach it. Patrice Algon is the rider in the dark green shorts there, second off the nose on the left. 4:05 the gap at the moment, 47 kilometers. This is going to have to be a very tough organized chase, and if it doesn't start in the next 10 kilometers, they might not catch him.
Well, they might not. They need to really whip up the pace, but one or two people may not have heard of the name Sergei Gonchar or Honchar. Yep. Depends which newspapers you read. But in fact, going back to the World Championships about 6 years ago, they were right here on the course. They were on the circuit around Plouay. The man who won the time trial on that occasion just happened to be a man by the name of Sergei Honchar. Third in the under-23 time trial championships was Michael Rogers.
Yes, and Michael Rogers, of course, became the first senior world champion ever to come out of Australia. He's held that title now for 3 years. That's Juan Miguel Mercado, by the way, enjoying waving at the camera today. Well, I don't think he can be saying hello, Mum, because he's a Spanish rider, and Mum will be a long way away today.
But she will be watching it live on TV. You can absolutely be certain of that. Another little fact about Lorient, there was an individual time trial here in 2002. Santiago Botero, the winner on that occasion, beating by 8 seconds Lance Armstrong, and third in that time trial was Sergei Honchar.
Yes, he's no big surprise. He's a big gear thumper, and he usually sells out before the finish, but yesterday he'd never looked like selling out. An incredible performance. Still those 6 riders, 3:55. We're inside 4 minutes, and the Français de Jeu are helping now. So as we look here at the men of Français de Jeu, they have a good sprinter in Bernard Eisel. I'm surprised Tom Bonan hasn't said to his boys in blue, quick step, it's time lads, 2 of you go forward and start. Anyway, while we're waiting for the tactics to evolve, let's remind ourselves with the Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. OLNTV.com/fly to the finish is where you go, and today's code word is Leipheimer. That's what you need to know as we look at the main field here now. A lot of riders enjoying their sort of semi-rest day here at the back of the field, it seems. Well, the rider enjoying 1 or 2 laps there, Paul, is Ruben Labato, another Spanish rider on the same team with Britain's David Miller. There's Jerome Pino. He'll keep that polka dot jersey to take it south to the real mountains of the Tour de France, and then we'll see how he gets on down there. He's ridden a very, very good race this last week, just to make sure he's got enough points in the bag to keep going on the podium every day. Very, very important for the French to have a man up on that daily winners podium.
Well, there's the sign there indicating the lead of the team classification, and now it's no longer Team Discovery, it's actually T-Mobile.
Just running at around 45 kilometers here now from the end of today's stage. Bit of change of pattern on the front for the first time for ages. Overall, it's T-Mobile who lead this race individually and on team. It's been the Phonak team who have been doing all of the work, but now the white jersey of Français de Jeu want to try and get their sprinter home. They've taken control. The gap is down to 3 minutes 54. Tom Bonan not helping yet. So it looks now as though they've come at the last possible moment here, the riders of Français de Jeu, and it won't be. Oh, I thought we'd had a crash the way the camera cut back there, but no, all is well, thank heavens, as they make that. Now look at the difference in the length. All right, well, don't forget too, when you want to know everything about the Tour de France, the place to go is OLNTV.com. We'll give you all the latest updates on the Tour de France. We'll have expert analysis. We'll give you the race routes, the track contenders, the leaderboard results, and of course exclusive rider forecasts. Everything you need to know about the Tour de France, OLNTV.com. It's your link to the cyclism, the Tour de France. Français de Jeu riding at last on the front. These boys on a slight drag here, that's why they look as though they're a bit slow. Dave Zabriskie out to try and bring another stage win to an American. Matthias Kessler would like just another stage win. Only 3 of the riders in the breakaway, Zabriskie, Kessler and Patrice Algan, have ever won stages of the Tour de France, by the way. And that's Algan. He lives locally here in the department of the Mayenne. That's him nearest camera. And on the other side, riding on the Italian team, is Jelle Karlström of Finland. There's some very good cyclists coming out of Scandinavia just now. Very talented ones too. Sitting at the back and not helping at all, this is the last climb of the day, is Matthias Kessler. He's there, what we call the policeman for the race leaders on his team. He's just sitting there on the back, keeping an eye on everyone, and I think that's justified. In his heart rate here is a max today of 185. He's beating at 164. Bearing in mind, he is climbing the last small hill of the day here, so that gives you some idea. Number 34, sitting nearest the camera here, is Sylvain Calzart. He's won every climb today to try and get himself up the overall King of the Mountains chart. Before today, he hadn't won a single point, and so he's done himself a world of good today. He'll be in the top 3 or 4 riders with all these points he's gathered. He won't be able to have gathered enough to have taken over the polka dot jersey of Jérôme Pinault. Dave Zabriskie, what a real cyclist he's developed into this last 2 years now. A real solid man after he got that first day win in the Tour de France last year in the time trial. He's now developed into a true strong man for Team CSC. Thinks very, very cleverly at times to Zabriskie. A little bit below par with the time trial yesterday. One time trial I really could not make hide nor hair of. I was speaking with the German commentators, French commentators yesterday. They were all scratching their heads. It just didn't work out as anybody could see it happening. Karlström on the front now. These riders racing to the top of this last climb, which will leave us 43 kilometres to go when they go over the top. And the Bretons out in force today. They always get massive crowds for the cycle racing here in Brittany, be it amateur, schoolboy, junior, it doesn't matter. They'll turn out to watch it. They love the sport here. So you can see that Kessler, nearest camera, is not doing anything at all here. He's staying nice and fresh, saving 30% of his energy while the others are banging their head against the walls. If this breakaway isn't caught, then Kessler will make a huge effort to win the day. So over the top they go now on the climb, and it is Calzati gets a nap hand today. He's won every one of the climbs. All 4 of them are his. So he's climbed up a little ways in the mountains competition. We'll go off for a break. See you shortly.
Teamwork wins races.
There is Lance Armstrong and his U.S. Postal Service cycling teammates.
And there's a crash in the postal team. There's a touch of wheels. 2 riders are down here.
Armstrong giving instructions, slow down, let's get back together.
This is a brave decision or a silly one. We'll find out. Armstrong bringing his team home to the line. New best time. That is absolutely unbelievable.
Look at the line and the organisation of the blue train. This is utter perfection. Look at that smile. It's
incredible.
As wide as the Pacific Ocean.
This is the team now looking as one unit. This is Discovery in full flight.
This will be the 3rd win in 3 years.
The fastest ever time trial in the history of the event.
Brought to you by Trek Bicycle's new Equinox TTX 9.9, equipped with Bontrager wheel works and components.
One part of this concept car is already on the road. Michelin MX tires. Chosen by more luxury car makers to enhance the performance of their cars. Michelin, a better way forward.
The sky's perfect blue, no cloud could spoil the view. It's the birds and the bees are flying in the trees. The sun's in the sky, just for you and I. It's a sign from above that shows that we're in love.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend. I live strong for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Welcome back. The concerned faces now of the white jerseys here of Française des Jeux trying to close this race down because they want to try and get Bernard Eisel, their sprinter, over the line first. There are the men they are chasing. 6 riders, the gap now 3 minutes 29 at 121 kilometers to go. It was 7 minutes and 20. We're now 39. Now this is the sprint, and this will be a sprint here. David Zabriskie not quite managing to get to the line first, but he got second place, so he got a couple of seconds bonus. Mario Ertz deciding things getting a bit too dangerous, so taking those points away. No interest to him, but of course he's on the same team as Robbie McEwen. So Ertz gets the sprint and 6 seconds bonus. Zabriskie, more importantly, picks up 4 seconds bonus. He's now taken 6 seconds. He's moved himself up the overall classification today, that's for sure. He started out in 10th place today, so he's still having a great tour this year. That's the end now. This is Plouay, the people who love their annual Grand Prix Plouay cycle race. And the Tour de France quite often comes to this region because of the welcome it receives, and you can't beat that welcome, can you? All of those people applauding the leaders of the Tour de France. And Kessler didn't raise up too much of an effort, did he? His heart rate still beating at 164 against 185 max, despite that sprint we've just seen at 54 kilometers an hour. Well, so 328 is the gap. It's still coming down. I'm still not convinced they're going to catch this breakaway today. Anyway, let's have a look now. It's time for the 10-2 Nike moment, and it's all about Floyd Landis. Yesterday, Floyd Landis, after that rough start in the prologue with a slash on his tyre, this time his handlebars were a serious problem when the referees made him alter the position just before the start, and then they snapped on the race. A quick bike change ensued. It didn't stop this man riding a fantastic time trial and finishing second in the overall classification. There are more great stories too, so go to wearyellow.com. There's the information on Floyd, who really has established himself in this last few days as a real favourite to win this year's Tour de France, and follow him all the way to Paris, because I think Floyd could be the man this time around. Meanwhile, the peloton, we have a little bit of full stop there as Philippe Pizzato puts his hand up for service. So what happens is, if the cameras sense that the pictures are going to disappear, they freeze for a second and then release themselves. It's not something we're doing, and don't you adjust your televisions. Here we are, back on front, 321, still coming down. Oh no, we're not, 322, we're going up again. Now, Paul, there's one Lamprey rider got in on the act now, apart from all of the Française du Jeu team in favour of Bernard Eisel, but I can't understand why Tom Bonan hasn't offered a rider from his team.
Well, I think he's waiting to see where, because his team has done the majority of work over the whole of the first week of the Tour. He wants to see that gap come down to the 1.5 or 2 minutes marks. You can see a couple of blue jerseys moving up over on the left-hand side, and they will wait, I think. The one reason Tom Bonan has lost so many races so far is because he's never really got his lead-out train sorted out. So he may well be today trying to rest them, because they know that this is going to be a very fast finish. It's a rapid finish downhill to the line here in Lorient. It's going to be close to 80 kilometers an hour, I would say.
Any news on the Chateau de Menehoun?
Yeah, this chateau actually has been in the same family for 5 centuries, from 1460 to 1985. It used to belong to the Pluvier family, and it was modified back in 1758, and it was the addition made to it was they put a private chapel on the side, which is known as the Notre Dame of Sion.
I see Paul Sherwen knows everything. He does his homework at night. 36 kilometers to go. The gap is 324. We're passing through the sprint here at Plouay. No sprint, of course, because up front the 6 riders have taken the prizes and the small time bonuses. The boys here from Française des Jeux having a little chat, saying, are we going to get this breakaway or not? Now, these riders at the back in blue are in fact the teammates of Tom Bonan, and they're at the wrong end of the race today. 3 of them here. There are 9 on the team. Bonan, Bet Your Life, is up near the front. They may be saying, look guys, you need a rest, and he may have just told them not to bother.
Well, they're sitting at the wrong end of the main field if they want to help him down towards the end. I notice Matteo Tossato is not here. He's the final lead-out man for Tom Bonan. But I agree, he probably has said to them, guys, have a day off. We've done all the work so far. It's everybody else who needs to do the pacemaking at the front. We'll take the risk, because it is a risk riding at the back end of the main field, of taking control of the peloton inside of the last 10 kilometers.
Well, we'll see. Well, just looking here at the town. They're now in the town of Plouay as they spiral around past the church here. Boy, look at the length of that line now. Well, they're angry at the front and hanging on at the back, I think. Well, when we come back after this break, we'll remind ourselves there is another American in this race riding pretty well right now. His name is Chris Horner, and he's known the ups and downs of this year's Tour de France. See you in a moment.
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. A unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team. And leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
Next Sunday, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the 5-time WTT champs Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis presented by Advanta. Next Sunday at 11:30, only on OLN.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
Try new cheesy chicken mashed potato bowls from KFC. Freshly prepared with our famous mashed potatoes, layered with sweet corn, all white meat crispy chicken, and topped with our signature gravy and 3-cheese blend. Great flavors come together at KFC.
This is sick! Help! I hate you! Stop smiling!
Blow me a kiss.
What are you, high?
You got nothing to worry about.
Get HBO on demand. It's the best thing to happen to TV since HBO.
Multicolored cultured freshwater pearl strand from Honora. Featured at a special one-day price throughout the day, Friday, July 21st on QVC and QVC.com.
Welcome back. The Tour de France. The pace is hotting up now. One or two riders sending up workers to say, right, time to lift the pace and get those 6 boys back. They're not penetrating as much as they might like to, but they have got the race lead now down to less than 3 minutes with 20.7 miles to go, about 32 kilometers. And it is the Case d'Apon who sent riders up now because Isaac Galvez is their sprinter. Maybe he's feeling a bit more like getting off the back of the pack where he's been finishing the last couple of days. There in the black, we've got the multicolored jerseys of Lamprey, and right on the front now is the champion of France here, Florent Brard, the AG2R, scurrying up on the far side of the road as well. Well, you can see now there's a great deal of urgency amongst the peloton of the Tour de France right now. The world champion of Tom Bonan, just one teammate around him. As we are now looking down at Quick Step, and I think Bonan beginning to say it's time to help out here. Well, while they're deciding who is going to chase down, we will now have a look at our Capital One athlete profile, and we're talking about Chris Horner.
Chris Horner, Davide Monlato from Bend, Oregon. For me, Tour de France is definitely the main goal.
Last year, Chris Horner rode in his first ever Tour de France with Saunier Duval-Prodier. Aged 32 and with one unsuccessful spell in Europe 6 years ago, it was a rare second chance at a pro racer's dream. In the early stages of the Tour in 2005, Horner was relieved and elated that his dream of riding the Tour had finally come to fruition. With no clear leader, Horner aimed to support teammates Juan Manuel Garate and Constantino Zabaya to clinch stages. Although Saunier Duval didn't do very much in the Tour, Horner rode a great race, almost snatched a stage win and finished 33rd overall. Not bad for a rookie. It was an impressive performance, and within a month Horner had signed for the De Wittemont Lotto team for 2006. This season, with his Tour slot already confirmed, Horner's European Odyssey completed another chapter when he won Stage 2 of the Tour of Romandie. And confirmation that second time around, he can't just handle the Europeans, but he can now beat them at their own game.
To win a stage in the Tour de France would just be golden.
Yes, that's our Capital One athlete profile. Chris Horner enjoying his second crack at the Tour de France, that's for sure. had a great win this year on a stage of the Tour of Romandy, and last year he had a great stage win in the Tour de Suisse. He seems to like racing in Switzerland. Romandy, of course, is a canton of that great country. So Chris Horner will see a lot of him, I think, this time around. Situation unchanged, little chat going on here at the back. This is Jelle Carlsson in the breakaway talking with the management. He'll be told now that they've started to chase. 3 minutes 40 the gap. There are your 6 leaders. Now, just as we see this, Paul, and just after a little chat at the back there with Jelle Carlsson, this is the first attack of the day. Now, who's going to react to this move?
Has to be Kessler. Normally, he's the man who's been sitting on the group for quite some time, but they've lost all momentum. That was Sylvain Calzati who went away, took off round the corner. Patrice Algon wants a bit of that as well.
Oh, yes, because he's the local boy. He's not going to work his way to catch the breakaway like he did and then be caught by the bunch. Surprised that Kessler's waiting much longer because there's no reaction from Mario Ertz. So now we've got Patrice Algon on the attack. Look at this, 19 miles to go. We have just seen an attack then by Sylvain Calzati. They've heard that the main field has started to chase. There's still around 30 kilometers left to go, so they've got to try and get the pace going up here. He's being chased by Patrice Algon. I'm a little bit surprised that Kessler just watched it all happen.
Well, I'm more than a little bit surprised, because the first time, yes, you can be surprised, but the second time you have to be alert and be waiting for the counter move to come. And Kessler wasn't boxed in. He was right in the ideal place. He was over on the right-hand side. He actually saw the move go. And I'm surprised he didn't jump on it immediately, because we saw in the first week of the Tour, in fact, the first 2 days, he's got an incredible jump when he needs to.
2 minutes and 32 seconds. I think the move had to come because it was getting a bit lethargic up front. Here's the man who's caused all the problem here, Sylvain Calzati, who rides on the French AG2R team. He's just going to try and lift the pace. You would expect that somebody will try to chase him, but he's not going to wait for him because he's too critical right now. 2:37, so they started to nudge away again from the main field with that lifting of the pace. Calzati's had a great time in the mountains today. In fact, he's won enough points to bring him into 4th overall in that competition, but he still stays a goodly way behind Jérôme Pinault, who will take that polka dot jersey to the Pyrenees now.
Well, interestingly enough, this man has only ever won 1 professional race in his career, and that just happens to be a very important race. He won the Tour de l'Avenir.
Massive win.
And since then, Phil, he's struggled to come to the top of professional cycling. It's very difficult sometimes for a rider to make the distance between the 150-kilometer races and the 200-kilometer races. It can take 3 or 4 years to adapt.
Well, maybe today's the day he's adapted, Paul, because he started to move now. The lonely figure there. All basically flat roads as we race to Lorient. There's always the little rises, but basically running down to sea level onto the side of the Atlantic Ocean today for Calzati, as he starts to try and pick it up. They've actually pegged the breakaway now at 2.5 minutes. And they're saying 7 seconds is the gap.
Well, Algon is having a very hard time getting across there. He's got halfway across the gap. You see, he got the jump on everybody else, but at this stage of the race, everybody's fairly tired, and closing down a gap which might only be 50 or 75 meters is not that easy, because everyone's locked in at basically the same speed.
Well, at this stage of the race now he's made the move and the legs start to settle in and the pain starts to just be constant. He would like probably a little bit of help, but way in the distance. I don't think Algon is going to make this gap.
Well, he got halfway across the gap. If you're going to be in a move like this, the best time to move is actually immediately as the move goes. That's why you have to be attentive. If you're on the wheel, you actually get dragged away with the acceleration of the guy who's attacking. But it looks to me as if they're starting to clear the gap behind. You can just see the shadow there of Patrice Algon. And the cars behind indicate that the rest of the group is not very far behind Algon.
Well, Algon has tried this. Remember, this is the man who had to chase to catch the breakaway, and he's given up. He's realized that he's not going to cross the gap on his own. He's had 1 victory this year, a race called the Route du Sud. He had a stage win. That's down in the region where we're actually flying to, Bordeaux now, after this race ends today.
Well, in fact, just one rider's come across him. That's Karlström. Karlström has seen the danger. That must mean I'm really surprised about Kessler, because Kessler must have good legs. He wasn't working for the last 30 kilometers or so, and you would have expected him to be able to follow a move like this, or at least have been alert for it.
Well, this would be one incredible win for Calzati if he was to ride away from that breakaway and race to the finish. Algon needs a few deep breaths now to settle back in. He's been joined by a very willing Finnish rider in Jelle Carlsson, who's 30 years of age now. And if they can get together, who knows, they might get up here. Kessler's mystifying. Maybe he's tired, or maybe he feels that why should he waste his energy? The stage win not so important now that they have the race leader on their team. There's our flotilla of motorbikes who have to scurry out of this because these guys in the villages will go pretty quickly.
Well, these are the three riders who've been left behind. Zabriskie is there with Mario Arts and, of course, with Kessler sitting on the back. They will probably get picked up quite quickly by the main field, who then all of a sudden might take less of an interest in chasing down because they've caught the riders who they felt were dangerous, Zabriskie and Kessler, for the overall classification, and they may well cut off, but it might force then Robbie McEwen's team to come forward and scramble over the last few kilometers. But it's now starting to turn the advantage towards the attackers on this occasion.
The peloton now have to work out, apart from the guys we've seen actually chasing. I mean, McEwen, yes, he might decide now whether he should move them up. He'll assess whether he thinks they're going to catch him and leave him in a sufficiently good position to win the stage. Once he hears that Mario Ertz is no longer racing for the win, he might well change his attitude to the chase behind, because so far he's been loyal to Mario Ertz. This is the face of Sylvain Calzati, his best ever moment, this, if it comes to a win in the Tour de France. His big chance, and he's going to take it with open arms, I think. 25 kilometers to go. Well, as he looks over his shoulder, as he did briefly there, he's continuing on here. That was a good move. I think they sensed that the breakaway was getting a little bit lethargic. Look at that move there. Wasn't exactly a slow one, was it? He just shot out the bunch. Can he stay away? See you in a moment.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the ultra.
So, boss, what keeps you up at night? Maybe you've been tasked with coming up with the next best thing since sliced bread. But look at the guy who invented sliced bread. He didn't invent bread. He didn't invent slicing. He just applied new technology to an age-old problem. Now, who's going to help you do that?
Pillaging was great this time of year, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've taken jobs as camp counselors. Burnt a village to the ground, doo-dah, doo-dah. We're not exactly role models.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet? Put your backs into it!
George Hincapie spent 7 years protecting, 7 years taking the wind, 7 years helping Lance win 7, 7 years preparing for Year 8. Tour de France continues Tuesday, live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
I got nothing.
Don't worry about it.
Cindy, I'm home.
Dad!
Hey, you!
Warning, Tag Wildcard reminds you, 3 of a kind beats 2 pair, Full House beats a flush, and an angry dad, well, he'll beat you straight up.
Introducing Wildcard, a new scent from Tag. 3.5 ounces of Vegas in a can. Consider yourself warned.
It's coming. 5 new vehicles. All have our best ideas within them. All are engineered for people who love the road. It's coming. The next generation of Nissan thinking for the next generation of Nissan drivers. Get ready. Shift 2.0 is coming.
Welcome back to live pictures of Stage 8 of the Tour de France, bound from Saint-Méen-le-Grand to Lorient. I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me is Paul Sherwen. This man doesn't want to be with anybody right now. Sylvain Calzati is leading his French AGR team. He's the leader on the road, putting a tremendous attack. And at the moment, it's going places because the peloton is not making any impression. And they were. When he made the attack, it was 2 minutes 30. Now they're out to 2:35. The breakaway has split, and I'm sad to say that Dave Zabriskie is at the rear of the split. So the breakaway is in 3 groups in effect. We've got the leader, 2 chasers and 3 chasers, and then the pack. The pack has lost ground since its attack, but only on the lone leader.
Yeah, the lone leader is doing a fabulous job. He really is ripping up the field here, super motivated. This is a place which all of the French riders know because they've ridden the Grand Prix Plouay. They normally come down here towards the end of August for that race. It's a hugely supported race with crowds of up to 250, 300,000. So he will be very motivated here this afternoon, and they're hard roads as well. There's no flat roads now, Phil, between here and the finish.
Well, this rider is going to rise to the occasion now. A Frenchman in France, in the hotbed of Brittany. He'll be cheered all the way. That's all you'll hear now. They'll know who he is. They'll have the little transistor radios playing. They'll know who's in the lead. As he now pushes on towards the finish, he's looking for the 20 kilometres to go down on the last 12 miles. Just over half an hour of racing, probably slightly less, actually. These are the 2 riders. Carlson has come up to Patrice Algon. But the pair of them don't seem to be making much more progress than when Algon was on his own.
Well, it's 1 minute and 20 seconds now back to Kessler and Dave Zabriskie, so I would think the yellow jersey can start to breathe a sigh of relief, and of course Floyd Landis will too. He'll feel that his team have done just the right amount of work to keep this race in a status quo. Little press of the button there on the push to talk button to the team manager. He wants to know who's chasing, how are they chasing, have I got a chance of surviving here this afternoon? Well, I've got to say, you've got a pretty good chance because you've actually just nibbled out 2 more seconds.
At the moment, this could be the first time a breakaway has succeeded. It was tailor-made for it today when this group got away. 6 teams represented. The only important man, Kessler. That caused the Phonak boys to chase, but not worry about catching, just limiting the escape of Kessler. And then the other sprinters, I think, have come to the front too late. But it's not over yet, of course. But they're heading to the finish at 21 kilometres to go.
21 kilometres to go. This man is still holding on to a good advantage. In fact, he's stretching it out. He really is flying, riding like a man possessed. You know, if you win a race like the Tour de l'Avenir, that gives you a certain reference. We've got a number of Tour de l'Avenir winners, and look at that for a nice speed. He's over 60 kilometres an hour on the flat part of this course, and you can see the difference in speed between him and the 2 chasers. Here is Karlström, who's a very good time trialist, trying to get himself into a low-profile position, joined by Algon, who tried to get across the gap but couldn't quite make it. And that's an indication that he doesn't have the firepower left.
No, and these 3, I'm afraid, are going to go backward. When you think of that speed, Paul, and that's the motorbike riding alongside Calzati, that is 60 kilometres an hour, just over 62. That's 39 miles an hour. The guy's on a bike and he's on a pretty flat road right now. He is absolutely flying. I'm sure he's picking up a strong tailwind, but whatever, this man is rushing to the finish now.
Well, it's a strong tailwind, but after 110 kilometres, 150 kilometres at the front of the race, and he now knows he has to keep it locked in at that. He'll look at his onboard computer every now and again. Team manager comes up alongside here to give him some extra energy gel. This is not really important at this stage of the game, but it is important in something like the Tour to keep eating every day, keep taking on board fluid, keep taking on board energy to make sure that you keep yourself topped up, you don't start to wear yourself down, because this is a 3-week event. It's not a daily event. This boy has got to come out tomorrow and do the same thing again. Well, he doesn't. It's a rest day.
There we are, 20 kilometres to go. So at 20 kilometres to go, 12 miles to ride. The speed he's riding, that's about 25 minutes. Can he do it? It'll be the biggest victory of his life, I would think. A win in the Tour de France. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll see if the sprinters are going to do anything about this today.
Real shooters, real rules, real cash. The world's greatest players, Hall of Famers, and hustlers battle it out for the richest payday in the history of the sport. Over $1 million in prize money. But to rack up that kind of cash, they better bring their 8 game.
Come on, you country redneck.
It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-ball shootout 2-hour season finale. Tonight at 6 Eastern, only on OLN.
It's showtime.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
For years, I ate a lot of burgers and fries. And it showed. Really showed. So I started exercising and eating low-fat Subway sandwiches. I realized I could enjoy great-tasting food without all the fat. And that showed too. And the delicious new bourbon chicken sandwich helps me keep it off. Tender chicken in a zesty sauce, hot and fresh from the oven, with just 5 grams of fat. 5! McDonald's spicy chicken has 17. Weigh your options. Choose Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh.
Attention.
Free yourself from big phone bills. With Comcast Digital Voice, you get unlimited local and long distance, plus 12 popular calling features, while saving more than 20% over Quest. And it's only $39.95 a month for Comcast customers. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice risk-free and get all your Comcast services on one bill. Stop writing those big checks to the phone company. Comcast Digital Voice gives you unlimited local and long distance with 12 popular calling features plus voicemail, all for just $39.95 a month. So you save more than 20% over Quest. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Get Comcast Digital Voice for just $39.95 a month. Call 1-800-COMCAST.
Well, welcome back to the Tour de France. No, it's not a race for pigs, believe me, but they're all striped up in the blue colours today because of the World Cup coming this afternoon. This is our Trek aerial view here of the Tour de France, and the main field now at last have got themselves going, but they may have made a mistake. The boys in black are a Spanish team, Case Dapon, Iles Baleares. They want to get their sprinter, Isaac Galvez, up for the win. They may have left it late because out front now is one man, 2 minutes and 33 seconds ahead. The rest of the breakaway is stranded in between. That policeman is a very brave man as the whole field of the Tour de France makes the split on the right-hand bend. Well, I think they might well pick up Dave Zabriskie now as riding in a group of 3, including Matthias Kessler. This is the leader, Sylvain Calzati. 76th overall in the Tour de France. That doesn't matter. We'll remember him if he wins this stage and in the most popular area of France for riding a bike. The chasing 2 riders behind him now are 1 minute and 6 seconds back, and that's Karlström and Algon. They're not going to catch him, I don't think. Well, the 2 guys behind Paul are losing as I speak. They've gone back from 106 to 107, so he's on his own or he's going to get caught. There is nothing in between now.
Well, there's the 3 men who were in the leading group for a long time, the main field. You can see the arrowhead at the front of it. They'll be quite happy now to pull Kessler back, to pull Dave Zabriskie back, because those were the 2 men who were the highest placed in the overall classification. A long day out on the roads of the Tour, trying to remount the morale, I should think, of Team CSC, because they will be very saddened by the accident which Bobby Julich had yesterday. Julich was trying to give everything in that individual time trial and just lost it a little bit going around that corner after 1.5 kilometers And sadly for him, it was the second time he had to leave the Tour de France because of a crash, and both times in the individual time trial.
Yes, very sad indeed. As we go back to the man now who's just concentrating. He's going to be the only man on the road very shortly as they start to pick everybody up. At 1:10 we've got 2 riders and the other 3 now back in the pack. It's not been a wasted journey indeed for David Zabriskie on the left of the picture here, because his 10-second in time bonuses has climbed him 1 place in the overall classification. Of course, he's got to hang on to the field now as they race for the line, otherwise he'll lose more than 10 seconds.
I don't think he should have too much of a problem to do that. He's a strong athlete and he will just lock onto the wheels when the main field comes by. The fact that they're having such a hard time to catch those 3 chasers indicates to me that the pressure is not really on. I think the main field has decided today they're not going to pull back the leaders. They may well catch all of the men in between, but this man now has got a very serious advantage of getting win number 2 for France in this year's Tour.
No sign of Algon and Carlson chasing around that far corner. He's on his own for sure now, living through a dream if he gets to the finishing line, because here comes Kessler. The field are about to sweep them up. The man that won the race into Valkenburg, almost a smile there, as he goes back into the pack now. T-Mobile having a great race so far, leading on team and with Conchard the individual. Floyd Landis is a team there, always keeping him safe at the front.
Floyd Landis very happy with the way the race has unfolded. T-Mobile also happy with the way it unfolded. They didn't want to do any work to go to the front and chase down breakaways like this, so therefore the best tactic to adopt is to make sure every time there is a breakaway you have a man present in that, because then that forces somebody else to do the chasing, and every one of the riders on T-Mobile really has got a chance of being a leader.
15 kilometers to go here, 15 kilometers, and this man Calzati in the lead, and moments ago the capture of half of the breakaway. Kessler and Zabriskie and Mario Ertz are back in the pack, leaves this man on the highway about 1 minute and 10 seconds behind 2 chasers from the break, Algon and Karlstrom, and then the peloton. And now the chase is on, and I think they may have misjudged it. 2 minutes 33 the last time check.
Well, the main field is doing nothing to eat into the advantage of the lone leader. He's still holding on to that 2.5 minute advantage. He actually stretched it out a fraction. It has dropped a fraction. As much encouragement as the team manager can give there, they're not actually doing any job at all of closing in on Sylvain Calzati, and the main field have closed down.
He's doing the ride of his life, 2:34 now. So look at the faces here now of the pack, and the boys in blue have come up. There's Tom Bone, and what's he doing? Looking for a drink at the wrong time of the day, I suspect. Anyway, let me quickly remind you about our Saab sweepstakes. Go to olntv.com, fly to the finish, and there you will find our code word for the day. It is Leipheimer. And I think there's a problem here for Tom Bone. It looks like a flat front tyre. It is. So when you look is out, it is out. Quick front tyre change. His team know about it. He's told them. So once that wheel is in, he should get back okay. It's a front wheel change, very good change by the panic, no panic at all for Tom. And a big push into the fray again when he gets his cleats on. So there we are, no panic today for Tom Bone, the world champion. But I think that is only going to help the man who is leading on his own. And when you take the race to the riders, you attack, you deserve a little bit of luck like that, a distraction in the main field. There's the Breton flag indicating a tailwind. You need to be pretty strong to hold a flag that big in a wind like this. One man racing for glory, but will he get there first? Don't go far away, we'll be back.
Most bike companies produce special heavy-duty frames for Paris-Roubaix because the roads are so bad. Cervelo doesn't, because all of our frames are engineered and tested to survive Paris-Roubaix.
The sky is perfect blue, no cloud could spoil the view. It's from above that shows that we're in love.
Try new cheesy chicken mashed potato bowls from KFC. Freshly prepared with our famous mashed potatoes, layered with sweet corn, all white meat crispy chicken, and topped with our signature gravy and 3-cheese blend. Great flavors come together at KFC.
Pillaging was great this time of year, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've taken jobs as camp counselors. Burnt a village to the ground, doodah, doodah. We're not exactly role models.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet? Put your backs into it!
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
Look, here's the deal. When you talk about Geico.com, you want to communicate 3 things. Easy to use, no middleman, could save you hundreds on car insurance. Other than that, just sort of be personable, yeah? The old nice weather, innit? Cup of tea? That'd be lovely. How's your mum? Cheers. I'd stick with the small talk, mate. Theatrics might come across as a bit cheesy.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Welcome back. View there briefly is what it's like to lead the Tour de France on your own. This man may have cracked the big bunch. If he has, he's the first man to have done it this year, because all of the finishes have been a sprint and the sprinters have had their great moments. But today, Sylvain Calzati, a man who has never actually crossed the finishing line first in any bike race, I think has made the winning move. 1:37 back to 2 chasers, but it's now 3 minutes and 1 second to the peloton. The gap has opened up now to 3 minutes between Calzati and the peloton. There's the left-hand bend. We saw Calzati go round, well, 3 minutes ago. And they, I think, have accepted they've been beaten.
Absolutely. Look at this time gap now coming through. 3 minutes is the gap from this lone leader back to the main field, with the 2 riders caught in no man's land at 1.5 minutes. They might even survive to take away 2nd and 3rd place on the stage here this afternoon. But for this man, he is doing the ride of his life. He will find a little bit of extra energy in that body of his. He will be able to handle the pain that fraction more, because he's starting to believe now that he is going to win the stage here this afternoon, and that helps push your body into the realms where it normally can't stay for too long.
It's not done yet. This is a counter-attack here to try and get somebody to make a move from the field. And this is one of the riders on Française des Jeux. Just a desperate move, because they sense that nobody is taking up the chase now. There is a reaction. That all will help. And watch that gap start to come down. But at the moment, we're going up. Latest check I've got, 3:05. I think this is Philippe Gilbert who is having a dig now.
Well, it's not a great move. He's trying to ride across a gap of 3 minutes to catch the lone leader. The only way to do it at this stage of the game is to have an organised chase on the front end of the main field. And I think everybody basically this afternoon has given up the ghost, and that's not surprising. We've had a very hard week of racing. We've had a time trial the day before. Riders looking at a rest day straight into the face. They got the calculations completely wrong here this afternoon, and they didn't expect that a man by the name of Sylvain Calzati would have enough pressure and enough diesel in the engine room to be able to go off and surprise the lot of them.
When it works, it all looks so easy, but it doesn't usually work. A lot of people have been asking us, why do riders break away when they never win? Well, of course, they live in the hope that they will win, and today that proof may be in the eating, because this is Sylvain Calzati. He's now seeing on that board 3 minutes and 5 seconds. When he broke away, the peloton were at 2 minutes 30, so he's still riding away from the field, and we are inside 10 kilometers to go.
Well, he's strong. He's still comfortable sitting on the front end of his saddle. The other day, the French had a program after the finish of the Tour de France, and just to bring up the point you were making about breakaways, they were saying, well, in this Tour de France this year, the breakaways have all been for publicity. They've all been just to get riders onto the television, but no rider does that, Phil. They all go in with the hope of winning the stage.
I agree. Yes, indeed. Riders don't waste their energy with 3 weeks to race just for publicity, believe me. There's the crowd on the bridges. This is the peloton. There's the riders now. Way to the Breton people. They love the Tour de France. It's coming its way. These are the peloton now. The sprinters today, I think, have been beaten by this man. We'll know soon.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Because you do more. It does too. Live life to the ultra.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
The full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
I've kind of got this problem. I can't sleep, cold sweats, rash. I think I've got this Tour Mania thing.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Oh, what a relief. Hey, what have you got for this?
Welcome back. We're looking at the peloton of the Tour de France. They're about to wipe out Philippe Gilbert, who's just tried a cheeky little move. It's not going to work. But the man who is going to get the prize for making the cheekiest move of the race is still 3 minutes down the road. Sylvain Calzati. People say breakaways never succeed. Well, today they'll have to change their mind. We are only 6.2 kilometers from the line. We won't see too many banners now, by the way, ticking off the kilometers, which will be a shame for Calzati because they didn't erect them out on this auto route, this freeway here, because I think it was just simply too wide and too dangerous when they reopen for the other vehicles. So I think it's the 3rd, 4th and 5th kilometers to go. We probably won't see them unless they put a marker on the side of the road. But at the moment, those two riders who nearly got on terms with him, well, they have just dropped back, but they're holding. And the bunch haven't even picked them up yet. That's Patrice Alguin and Kjell Karlström of Finland. And it would have been nice to have seen a Finnish rider in for a sprint finish. I don't recall any Finnish rider ever winning a stage of the Tour de France. But this rider here now, Calzati, remember, he's never crossed the finishing line in his life as a winner, but he did win at the Tour de l'Avenir, which is, in English means the Tour of the Future. and that is the race which young riders take part in before they get picked for the big one, the Tour de France. He won that, but he never won a stage. Now he is clear in the Tour de France, racing across Brittany, the hotbed of cycling. The gap is 3:03. This man is still riding away from the pack. They're not pinning him back, try as they might, throwing the teams up front. They've left it all too late today. Robbie McEwen, if he's lucky, and Tom Bonan, they'll be racing now for second place on the stage. And even that's a question mark right now. Well, look at the movement now. When you see the pack start to fan out like this, Matthias Kessler, by the way, is back in the pack now. His heart rate is still beating casually at 164 of a possible 185. He was in the breakaway. He's in the pack now, along with Dave Zabriskie. Zabrisky's small time bonuses today will improve his overall position by 1. That's the situation if he finishes in the main field, of course. There's this big wide open race. It's a brand new road here, by the way. They've built into Lorient, and there is the pack. And the two riders, first of all, are now in the sights of this chase group. Now, people ask what that yellow little thing is on the forkstay, or the chainstay rather. It is in fact the transponder which pinpoints the rider when he races over the finishing line. It's a lonely old business when you get to this stage of a Tour de France. You're on your own. All you want to do is to get to the finish. Nobody can help you. At this point of the race, nobody can come and even talk to you. There's no drinks can pass to you. You're on your own well and truly now, and this rider's certainly all of that. 4.6 kilometers to go to the finish. Concentration. You can't see his eyes, otherwise you might see the pain behind those dark glasses. He's still nibbling off seconds here. This is the strong time trial, which he didn't have yesterday, but today he's making the most of his lowly place in the overall classification as he races now for victory in the Tour de France. Sylvain Calzati turned professional in 2003. Comes from Lyon, by the way, which is down in the centre of France, so he's not local here. There's the face of Sergei Gonchar. Quiet day for him, Paul. Routine, that's what he expected, that's what he wanted. He's completing his first day as leader of the Tour de France.
Yep, very good tactics by them. A team with only 7 riders left because, of course, Oscar Sevilla and Jan Ullrich were removed from the team roster within 24 hours. And for them, a good tactic, sending their man Matthias Kessler into the breakaway, because that forced everybody else to chase. And what happened this afternoon was, in fact, it was all down to Team Phonak to do all the work in the main field. Indication that Floyd Landis feels confident, his team feel confident, and this team now feels confident. They know they've got the victory. You don't see that very often so far from the finish. All he's got to do now, Phil, is make sure he doesn't fall off.
Well, I tell you, this is a big moment now. I think his team boss has just told him here. I don't know if he knows it's a grimace or cry or smile. I think the news was, look, they're not going to catch it. There's no race going on behind anymore. You're going to win the stage. Enjoy the last couple of kilometers.
Well, if you can enjoy it, you know, you really have to just keep the pressure on. You just have to keep riding. He knows he's got it, but it's still going to hurt for a few more kilometers.
But he can't afford a mistake, fall off with a flat tire, that's for sure. But this is going to be brilliant for him. Sad memories of last year's Tour de France. He abandoned the race on only the 8th stage of the race, and the previous year he'd finished his first Tour de France in 71st. So he is a man now who's going to remember his 3rd Tour de France with a stage win at Lorient, his first ever win as a professional cyclist, actually crossing the line. I should think we're going to see some terrific celebrations here.
Well, it's completely different, Phil, winning an actual stage than winning a race overall. You don't get the same joy when they cross the line, because winning the overall is basically on the addition of points, and you're not sure whether or not you've won the race till you get in across the line. But winning in a race like this, and after a long breakaway, when he gets to the line, it's going to be an incredible explosion of joy.
Is it going to be an omen for the French as they line up for the World Cup final in Germany tonight, in Berlin, where they play Italy? A French winner of the Tour de France is pretty rare these days, I can tell you. Though this year, this is going to be the 2nd stage win for a Frenchman. Remember Jimmy Casper taking out stage 1 of the Tour de France in a surprise sprint finish there.
Big surprise for Jimmy Casper in what was on that day a very dramatic victory, because just behind him we saw Thor Hushovd, the overnight leader, crossing the line, covered in blood. In this situation, we will see a man on his own riding down the final kilometre, and he will be waving to the crowd. He's not worried about winning the Tour de France this afternoon. He's 76th at the start of the day, 7 minutes down in the overall classification. But for him, it's the joy of riding down the finishing straight all alone in front of a French crowd.
Well, all of the banners not erected on the freeway here, the autoroute, but once we swing off it, we should see 2 kilometres to go. I'm approaching that now. We're at about 2.5 kilometres from the finish of the race. It's very rare on the stage of the Tour de France you can start to think of the joys and the pleasures of winning the race. It's usually a desperate affair, and I thought that's exactly what it was going to be. But all of a sudden, he got through the psychological section of the breakaway when the field realised there is now 2 kilometres to go. The field realised they'd let him go too far, and now the best attitude is to live to fight another day. He deserves his win.
He'll feel good now once he's seen that sign indicating 2 kilometres to go. He can translate that very quickly with his onboard brain, because he's going to tell himself, look, mate, 2.5 minutes left to go. Get out of the saddle one more time. The pain is just about to stop.
Well, you know, Paul, I think if I was a Frenchman and wanted to win a stage of the Tour de France, this is where I'd want to win it, in Brittany.
Well, what a day for the French as well. What a weekend for the French, because, you know, they've already won Wimbledon with Maresmo. They've got the World Cup lining up here this afternoon. And winning in Brittany is definitely a place to win for a Frenchman, because this is very much the heart of French cycling. This is where French cycling is at its greatest. It's produced some of the great champions. Bernard, you know, Louison Bobet, whose town we went through this morning on the stage. And here this afternoon, Lorient is celebrating the Tour de France. That little blue banner over the road there with the red kite underneath is going to be a sight for his sore eyes.
Well, Saint-Méen-le-Grand is where Bobet comes from, where we started today, and in fact he was a brilliant cyclist. He won the Tour de France 3 times. He would certainly have approved at the way this man chose to win today, breaking away with a group of riders at 46 kilometres into the stage, deciding they weren't going quick enough and they would get wrapped up. He decided to attack on his own a long way out, nearly 30 kilometres to ride. And then the field realised they couldn't organise themselves and they couldn't catch him. Sylvain Calzati may have won one bike race in his life. It was the overall classification. Now he's about to have, in effect, his first ever big win, and he's chosen stage 8 of the Tour de France.
You see that, Phil, a real professional look back, just to check, although he's had the time gaps, although he's been told it's 3 minutes, he wanted to make sure nobody was coming back.
Listen to the crowd. He abandoned in pain on stage 8 of the Tour last year. Now he's winning a stage of the Tour de France, and it's France's second stage win. This might be a big tour for the French this year as they bring the curtain down on the first portion of the Tour de France. Then he's off to the airport now and a quick flight to Bordeaux to watch the World Cup on television. Is this an omen for France as Sylvain Calzati gets the win he richly deserves?
Going to be a long wait now to see the next 2 riders out on the road. I wonder if they're going to survive. The last time check we had, they had around about a 2-minute advantage over the... they had a 2-minute deficit over Calzati, but they still had a minute's lead over the front end of the main field. But there is the stage winner this afternoon. What a great ride by him.
Yes, this is a good moment too, because now he can wait to see who finishes second and third, and that is the best feeling in the world, I think. Shaking his head there. He's on the same team, by the way, as the Australian Simon Gerrans, who won the Tour Down Under in Australia this year. He's in this tour as well this year. Now, the big question is who is going to take out the valued points for green jersey. This is the race. I'm surprised these 2 stayed away, but they have. And together they could not catch Calzati. Once Gilles Carlstrom came up to Patrice Algon, they still couldn't catch him. In fact, he rode away from them. These 2 are going to take major slices of green points away from the likes of McEwen, Bonin, Frere, Bernardi and Hushoff. Now, who's going to win this sprint? Because the Finnish boy at the back, he's never been near even a second place on the stage of the Tour.
I think Karlstrom should, because he's just sat on for about 500 metres. He's forced Patrice Algon to do the majority of the pacemaking at the front end of the main field. They keep looking over their shoulders. They are very worried about the return of the main field. But Hallgøy is going to be forced to lead out the sprint. Karlsson, I think, will come out of his slipstream, but if they're not careful and they play around just a little bit longer like this, they will see the main field coming down upon them. The main field would love to catch these two guys because there are still points available. And of course, Robbie McEwen is only separated from Tom Boonen by 10 points. They need to battle it out. Every time there's a sprint, these guys have to go for it. These now are the two men trying to go out for second and third.
Patrice Algon, from lying in a street in South Australia in Adelaide in January, now dicing out a second-place finish in the Tour de France. But Karlsson has got one over him with a very special sprint, second, and there's the peloton right behind now. Who's going to bring this big Tom Boonen driving on the front here now with Bernardi, and Zarbo's trying to get through the middle, and McEwen gets it. McEwen has done it again. I will go for him by a centimetre.
Well, McEwen came very rapidly up through the middle there. I think the other riders just sat up before the line. Boonen led out from a long way. Boonen actually sat up once he saw he was beaten, but we'll have to have a look at that once again. Let's have a look. There's Boonen on the right. McEwen's coming up very quickly.
Well, there it is, Robbie McEwen taking it right on the line. That guy can measure in centimetres when he needs to. Bernardi just pushed in, so McEwen, even on a day the sprinters were beaten, increases his overall lead in the green jersey competition. The Tour de France is only just beginning, everyone, and we've got the mountains to come, of course. Well done, Sylvain Calzati. You beat them at their own game today. We'll be back with all the results, the podiums, and another look at today's stage of the Tour.
Teamwork wins races.
There is Lance Armstrong and his U.S. Postal Service cycling teammates.
And there's a crash in the postal team. There's a touch of wheels. Two riders are down here.
Armstrong giving instructions, slow down, let's get back together.
This is a brave decision or a silly one. We'll find out. Armstrong bringing his team home to the line. New best time. That is absolutely unbelievable.
Look at the line and the organisation of the blue train. This is utter perfection. Look at that smile. It's
incredible.
As wide as the Pacific Ocean.
This is the team now looking as one unit. This is Discovery in full flight.
This will be the third win in 3 years.
The fastest ever time trial in the history of the event.
Brought to you by Trek Bicycle's new Equinox TTX 9.9, equipped with Bontrager wheelworks and components.
The aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
Try new cheesy chicken mashed potato bowls from KFC. Freshly prepared with our famous mashed potatoes, layered with sweet corn, all white meat crispy chicken, and topped with our signature gravy and 3-cheese blend. Great flavors come together at KFC.
Welcome back on OLN here. The Tour is finished for the day. The blue seas here of the Atlantic, well, kind of blue anyway, because we have blue skies. And that was the day that the sprinters were beaten. And coming home alone, Sylvain Calzati of France. But Robbie McEwen still increasing his lead in the green jersey, because he has got the 4th place finish today after 3 riders beat the sprinters in the end. So just looking down here now at the finish of Calzati. He's tried for years to get a stage win like this. He finally gets it, and what a place to choose. Lorient in Brittany, the hotbed of French cycling. He's a Frenchman on the day of the World Soccer Final, where France take on Italy in a couple of hours' time. It's all going too well for the French at the moment. Let's have a look at the stage results. There's the result for Calzati, 4 hours 13 minutes, most of it spent up front today. Kjell Karlsson gets Finland, I think, their best ever finish on the stage of the Tour de France. Algon beaten in the sprint to third. Robbie McEwen, the sweeper from the rest of the race. He's proving that given his chance, he's too fast for anybody. Old man Zabel is there in sixth, Bernard Eisel seventh, Paolini, Tom Boonen washed away, Paul, into ninth place, and David Kopp, he's a developing young rider who I think one day is going to get a stage win. But I think you all agree Calzati was the man today. He deserved everything.
Well, it's nice finally to see the breakaway survive. You know, very often people say, why do they do it? Well, that today is why they do it. There's a hope in the back of every bike rider's mind that they'll get into the breakaway, which is the successful breakaway. If it works once in a week, that's the breakaway you want to be in, and that's why today Sylvain Calzati deserved to win.
Let's have a look how Robbie McEwen, just look how fast Robbie McEwen is. Boonen out there should have won this sprint. Robbie McEwen is still at the bottom of our picture. Now look at this move.
Look how quickly he comes through. He sees there's a big lot of congestion over on the right-hand side of the road and says, right, excuse me, open the door. I'll come by on the left. He comes up alongside Eric Zabel. Then the turbo comes in. You can hear it whistling from here as he goes across the line. The lunge gives him a half a bike length advantage over Bernati.
And there is the man who beat them all, didn't worry about McEwen's sprint. Sylvain Calzati, the French winner of today's stage of the Tour de France. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come do all the end of race reports with Al and Bob.
George Hincapie spent 7 years protecting, 7 years taking the win, 7 years helping Lance win 7 years preparing for year 8. Tour de France continues Tuesday, live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
The real-world testing we do here at Honda's Safety Research Center enables us to design products that provide exceptional protection for drivers, passengers, and pedestrians. Because what we learn in here makes a difference out there.
Widescreen Lenovo ThinkPad Titanium with Intel Centrino mobile technology.
Hi everybody, I'm Yolanda, telling you that Comcast high-speed internet is worth it. Worth it to download quicker, to win auctions in the last second, and worth it to help with that homework. You can have high speed, surfing up to 100 times faster. Want all the worth it of Comcast high-speed internet? Check this out.
Call 1-800-COMCAST today and get high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. Plus, get a self-install kit for just $1.
Comcast high-speed internet gets a thumbs up from Oxygen and a W for worth it.
One chick, one chicken dinner. 6 chicks, 6 chicken dinners. 1 is good, 6 is better.
Especially for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing. Now you can add not just 1, but 6 channels of in-car coverage, plus data, telemetry, and team audio, all with NASCAR in-car, only on digital cable. Order today for just $69. Call 1-888-COMCAST today. When it comes to sports, we're on your team. The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by LLB, official outfitter of OLN, and by Honda, committed to safety for everyone, and by Lenovo, makers of ThinkPad, including the ThinkPad tablet and ThinkPad widescreen.
We're back on the coast of Brittany in Lorient. Earlier today, foggy and rainy, but it has given way to a gorgeous day today, and the French really have no one to challenge for the overall yellow jersey in the Tour de France. There is the U-boat headquarters, I believe, from World War II. They bombed this city, destroying about 85% of it. The only thing the Allies didn't hit was the U-boat base. The toast of France today, as I mentioned, without the legitimate yellow jersey hope for the overall win, was Sylvain Calzati, second and third picked up there, and yet Robbie McEwen still was at the front of the peloton to make sure he solidified his status in the green jersey, and he did just that. Bob, to me, this was a refreshing stage in that it was very strategic, and it showed off what cycling can be.
This was a bit of a chess game on two wheels for the riders, as we see Sylvain Calzati. He played his trump card at the end of the stage, dropping his breakaway companions. Oh, this is a great stage win for the French and a French team. They don't get that very often, the Tour de France these days, international cycling being what it is, so competitive. But today, Calzati delivers for the French on the day that they will play for the World Cup soccer title a little bit later this evening in France against Italy. But that's a great result for Calzati and AG2R.
Yeah, he's got a little French in his name and a little Italian in his name, so he's got all his bases covered. Honda takes a look at the Stage 8 results. Jelle Karlström beat Patrice Algan in a sprint to the line for the honors of second and third. And then there was Robbie McEwen with the outstretched front wheel to hold on to the green jersey. Daniele Benatti, boy, he's been part of just about every sprint. He just can't finish the deal. Same can be said for Eric Zabel. After turning 36, he hasn't been able to find sprinting magic yet. And Français de Jure, they tried to create pace at the front of the peloton for Bernhard Eisel, their sprint man for this Tour de France, but as well, it didn't work out for them. So it's immediately the kind of situation when you think about the overall race. Okay, what's coming up? What's going to happen to that yellow jersey? What's going to happen to T-Mobile? We've got the off day tomorrow. The cyclists will drive along and follow for 7 hours to get to Bordeaux and Dax tomorrow for what comes on Tuesday. And then we look forward to the mountains and the Pyrenees getting started on Wednesday.
One more flat stage for the sprinters, and then we're into the mountains where this man will have to defend that yellow jersey. Great riding today by the T-Mobile squad. They didn't have to do any work and kept the jersey. That doesn't happen very often in the Tour.
All right, some business to take care of in terms of the battle for the yellow jersey. It will belong on that man from Ukraine. He'll have it for consecutive days. Sergei Yanchar of T-Mobile, after his great success yesterday in the individual time trial. This is Michelob Ultra's look at the overall standings. Floyd Landis is exactly where he still wants to be, a minute back. Andreas Kloden could be a real challenger before this is all said and done, depending on whether Discovery can get back in this or not. Cadel Evans, the Australians, like where they stand in the 8th spot. Now, David Zabriskie was part of the 6-man break that attempted something. It eventually wound up going to the AG2R team and Sylvain Calzati. Meanwhile, David Zabriskie had this to say after this stage was over. Let's listen.
David, what was the motivation to get in the breakaway today?
It's just teamwork. You can't have the same guys covering the breaks all the time, so it's my turn, and that was the one that went away, so that's how it is.
With you being away in the breakaway, was there a decision to not go with Calzati or to just work out that way?
I mean, I was a little bit tired, and I actually didn't think those guys would make it. But good job for them, and I got some bonus seconds, so we moved up in the car classification for the mountains, so I was happy with that.
8 days of racing, or I should say 9 days of racing, 8 stages. How would you rate not only your performance so far in this year's Tour, but the team's?
Under the conditions, I think, I mean, very well, actually.
Enjoy your rest day.
Thank you.
All right, so that's a depleted team that's looking for a little prestige, and as David Zabriskie said, it was just his turn.
It was his turn to go out in the breakaway, and that's a good job by Dave Zabriskie. It's good to see him up in the front mixing it a little bit today.
Tomorrow's the rest day, but we've got a complete recap of what the Tour has seen so far. We'll take you through the prologue all the way through today. It's our rest day recap on OLN. It comes your way as usual in prime time as we look forward to what's to come on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday is Stage 9, Bordeaux to Dax in France, 170 kilometers. That'll be live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 5:30 a.m. Pacific, with enhanced coverage, of course, in prime time. And then Wednesday, we get started in the Pyrenees with a couple of huge climbs. So today, Sylvain Kelzati of AG2R defeated the odds, broke away from the peloton, and took Stage 8. For more race coverage, go to olntv.com. Check out all our updates, rider profiles. Our OLN team is outfitted by LL Bean. Visit their website at llbean.com. Up next on OLN, the Volvo Ocean Race. That's all coming up. So, Gonchar of T-Mobile is in yellow once again. For Bob Roll, Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen, Frankie Andreu, Craig Hummer, and Robbie Ventura, I'm Al Trautwig. Thanks for joining us. Day off tomorrow. Look for our complete recap, and then we'll see you again on Tuesday as the tour continues here on OLN.